All right. And you go ahead and.
Clear that up.
Mm-hmm.
How's your morning going?
Man, I'm excited, man. I'm really excited. Just a lot of things that I see on the horizon. It's just makes me very optimistic about a lot of things that we've talked about.
Uh-huh.
Uh, it's nothing like I'll quote the words of the immortal, notorious Big. You can have a lot of dreams and thoughts in your head, but it ain't nothing without no money.
Yeah.
And money's not the end all be all, but it is definitely a tool.
Yeah. Have you heard of 19 Keys?
Enlighten me.
So 19 Keys is he's a new brother on the scene. He's a I mean, boy is everything. He's a revolutionary activist. He's a motivational speaker. He talks
Uh,
about wealth, finance, things like that. But he just shared a reel that he posted a reel that I shared today, and it said a lot of people were taught to chase money and not create value. And you're missing out on the value because money is looking for value. So
yes.
when you chase the money, you dig what I'm saying? You always behind the value.
Right.
So you gotta create the value and then the money gonna come.
And I think that's where, the moves that we make are representing that. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? As we always say it was a slow process, but it
yeah,
doesn't mean it was no progress. You know what I mean? It was a very slow process. We went from Bethel to doing this to now, the opportunities again that are on the horizon. So, like you said, I truly believe that, yeah, the value that
mhm,
created, people are going to start getting behind it and like, hey, what else can we do to help you guys? You know what I mean?
yeah. And then I think that's why it's important to do the thing you love. That's why I speak on doing what you love. It's not to romanticize it. You do what you love and you create your purpose what you love because some people had to do those shows 20 years before they look came. You know what I mean? And you get something that had 2 months in, you get something that's 2 years, 10 years, but you got to be prepared to go however long it takes.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Good morning, sweetheart. Thank you so much for tapping in. One thing before we get the show started, you don't realize, Tim, that you redirect my path a lot because I'm the type of person I want it all or nothing, and
Yeah,
sometimes you have to work with the cards and the marbles that the universe or the heavenly Father deals you,
yeah,
and see how that grows from there. So a lot of times you redirect it on my path because, like you said, a lot of times I want things to look a certain way, sound a certain way, and be a certain way. It's like, and you told me, hey man, let's use what we have and keep this thing going.
yeah. It's one of those anomalies in life. You know what I mean? I heard a saying the other day in a movie, and he said, I wish we knew we were in the good old days while we were in the good old days. You know,
Right.
you don't know how that greatness is going to look until it's done. The people who are doing it don't know how it's going to look until it's done, and then we can look at it. But a
Right.
lot of times we try to look at it before it's done, and you got to just go to work. You got to, in a sense, put your head down and just grind, and then look up, and you'll see what you've built. But we try to control and direct and manage and micromanage. You dig what I'm saying? The
Mm.
progress. And that's not what it's about. The progress is about the journey. You're on it so you can pay attention to your surroundings, pay attention to yourself, pay
Yeah.
attention to how you talk and what you eat and what you view and what's funny to you and what angers you. You know what I mean? And each amount of your surroundings should change those feelings. That's how you know your life is changing. But if you consistently dealing with the same feelings, that's because you're not making changes. You've gotten this comfort zone for you and you stay there. Me, I always make myself uncomfortable. I go learn something new. I
Mm.
go walk around with a neighborhood with people that talk a different language than I do. I'm constantly immersing myself in things that I'm not used to and not comfortable. So it forces my mind to grow. You dig?
Absolutely. If you guys are tuned in right now, as you can see, um, just real quick couple announcements. Um, I wish I could show you the entire studio, but I am in the WUG underground radio here at the Ohio Media School. So I got a new location. If I had a sound bite,
Yes. Congratulations to that.
Yeah, man. Even Tim said, "Hell, okay, I see new banner, but give credit where credit is due. This is the underground radio station that I'm in right now. Again, we're working on bringing Tim in. We're going to have interns as far as working camera work. So this gives it the feel that I want. Again, going back to what Tim said, I had to wait for things to present themselves, and coming back to the school, I'm coming for two reasons. I'm coming to learn and I'm coming to teach. So, I mean, that's just the beauty of it all. It's like everything that I didn't know. A lot of people don't know my background in history in radio. Everything was trial by fire. I never went to broadcasting school. I never had anyone set me down as a mentor to say, hey, I'm going to ensure that you are successful. I just had to learn, observe, and a lot of situations that I was in this radio life, I was on the outs because everything that I learned was creative. So it wasn't the political way or the bureaucratic way of learning things. I had to learn things and still apply it to how I wanted to be creative. And I'll take you back to Tyler Perry. A lot of people don't like Tyler Perry, but one of the things that I hold on to dearly of what he said was, I'm glad I didn't go the conventional way that everybody went in Hollywood. Because if I went the conventional way of everybody in Hollywood, I would have followed the same contracts. I would have followed the same model. But because I followed my own model, this is where I am today. So a lot of times I was discouraged because I couldn't learn the conventional way that everybody learned. Go through broadcasting school, get the connections, do the internship. I made my own internship. I made my own jobs. And again, I was embarrassed, discouraged, everything like that, man. And but now I see what God was doing. I see what the universe and the path that I was on was doing. Like, okay, I wasn't supposed to go down that path. And maybe we can kind of start that topic off, Tim. I want to get to the topic of healing at some point during this, but I want to go down and open up the discussion when it comes to past and why people feel that. I mean, I always use this as a therapeutic session for me because I can't talk about nobody but myself. But you, Tim, have a broader perspective of people's lives, and you deal with a lot of people, so you can speak on a number of reasons and include yourself. Me, a lot of times I can only include myself because I know myself. But I know on my path, I've gotten discouraged a lot because I felt like I was weird. I felt like I didn't look like everybody else. I didn't talk like everybody else. I didn't do what everybody else did. And they made me feel that. I mean, they made me feel that. Why they did, I don't know. But what can you say to somebody who their path is so uncomfortable and they're wondering like, man, I want to get here, but like the song says, I'm coming up on the rough side of the mountain. And they feel that. I felt that, man. Like everybody else's path is smooth, but everything that I do, I have to work hard for, and I come up on the rough side of the mountain. Speak to those people today.
Yeah, so I feel like all of this is the healing process. You know what I mean? And I feel like the best means for what you're speaking on would be to shift your thinking. Because we got to realize everything that's happening around us is happening how we perceive it to happen. So me and you are having two different perceptions of what's happening around us.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So a lot of times our wounds are self-inflicted. It's our insecurities we have. We're trying to live up to a certain standard. We're trying to impress a certain person. We're trying to force ourselves to heal through something. So it creates these insecurities within us. And those insecurities are just triggers. When people do certain things, it makes us feel a certain way. When we're not to a certain point in life, it makes us feel a certain way. When we don't feel like we've worked enough, you know what I mean? It makes us feel a certain way. So when we shift our thinking, it opens up those new pathways. So you're able to feel how you feel, and your feelings are very valid. You know what I mean? But there's also a lot of different ways you can look at what's happening to you. And that's what we're limited to.
Okay.
You know what I mean? In school, they taught us problem solving. But in life, there's a whole different type of problem solving. And we weren't taught that. And we're not good at that. And that's something that we're adapting. We're learning now. You know what I mean? But a lot of the conflict we got to resolve is within. It's our own thoughts. It's our own inhibitions. We're in competition with something. We're entangled with something. We're tied to something. We're using something to heal. We're self-soothing. So this is why I always speak on duality. It's okay to self-soothe in that moment, but you got to realize there's another side to this. There's something else you're doing to yourself negatively. You dig what I'm saying? With that addiction.
Okay, so let's go back to our primitive nature. Okay,
Yeah,
and when we talk about our primitive nature, we have a tribal nature, right?
absolutely.
So in that tribal nature, um, especially in primitive times, it was not good to be an outsider because you were deemed a threat to the demise of that tribe or that culture, because basically you had so many forces. You had animals, you had other competing tribal forces. If your crops were growing and that, competitive tribe crops weren't growing, you could be at war. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So
right.
if you weren't what's the word, bona fide, if you weren't up to protecting and providing, then you were outcast. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
a lot of this fit in is going back to our primal nature, going back to something that you actually liked and responded to, is where the gentleman was on the reel, was saying today's man struggles because it doesn't matter if you're a good person if you aren't be able to provide. It doesn't matter if you're a good person if you're not able to protect your tribe. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
so a lot of the struggle is a lot of men today can't fight. A lot of men today can't protect themselves. A lot of men don't have the fortitude to forge ahead past that 40-hour a week job. So they become on the rat race and they start to deplete themselves in their soul. And like he said, it leads to that low self-esteem, that wanting to commit suicide and things of that nature. So the society that we're raised in right now, honestly, doesn't really teach us to forge ahead and be creative and to be different. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely not. It teaches comfort, and that's where that shift comes from. You know what I mean? In our mind, it comes from changing our surroundings. But that's why, see, I love that we're having this conversation because a lot of points I've been making over the show is getting hit. This is why I'm always preaching, you know what I mean, self-employment, being business for yourself, because then you can set your life up in a certain way. And everything you said, 100% I agree. And the difference in now and back in the day in primal times was they had to live on survival. That's
Well,
why back in the day there wasn't a lot of vegans and vegetarians. Because if the only thing we can eat was cows, we had to survive. Like we eating steaks, we eating
yeah.
burgers, we having cow for dinner. You dig what I'm saying? But as the world evolved, we're in the most evolved world that it's ever been. So we don't have to live on survival. And that again, duality has now become our crutch. Now we start to live in comfort. And these jobs has created this comfort atmosphere that people live in. So now they, like you said, they don't know how to fight. You know what I mean? But there's a whole other side of person, the entrepreneur. These are a lot of my friends. They go to boxing at night. You know what I mean? They know how to fight. They fight. They fight in their garage. They train. Like they have means to still do these things because they have the time in the day. They
Right.
don't have this comfortable job or this comfortable position or this comfort, whatever that they're living in. So they're able to explore multiple facets. So the world has become more safe and more comfortable. You know what I mean? And a lot of people are just banking on that safe opportunity, that safe job. They don't want to grow anymore because the fear of constantly having to grow has scared people into this bubble, into this shell. You know what I mean? And what
Well,
evolved, like I listened to what you said about the villages, and that's true. Like a lot of the villages back then depended on each other. And the reason that they were successful is because each person in the village had a purpose. And nowadays everybody wants to just make money. So it doesn't matter what you do as long as you're making money. Somebody offer you $50,000 a year, you'll be a receptionist. You never wanted to do that, but it comes with $50,000 a year. So you don't have people now in this society, but also we've created all of these products. You dig? So people can't compete with Walmart. I hear people, business owners say that all the time. Like I can't compete with Walmart. You feel me? So it's created this fear, this comfort, this mentality. Like I'm not gonna grow past here because it's gonna upset people. It's
right.
gonna make the big business mad because we created this convenient. I need my food when I need it right now. I
Hmm.
need to just run to the store to eat the animal. I don't want to have to actually catch it and skin it and kill it and clean it because
Right.
then I'm gonna have to learn how to do that. So inherently, through survival, they were learning how to do these things. As we built this need for comfort, we eliminated the middleman.
Hmm.
We wanted something and then we got it. We didn't have to want it and then prepare it and go get it, get the tools, learn how to use the tools, learn how to capture it, learn how to store it, learn how to cook it and prepare it. You dig what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Now you can skip all that and go to the restaurant and it's brought to your table already, prepared. So imagine the type of person that's going to create.
Right.
Imagine your mindset now when you see that process every day and you don't speak on it. You don't use your front mind to think on it, but in the back of your head, you're like, damn, like I'm lazy. And
Well,
you're constantly saying these things, and that's where these insecurities are coming from.
exactly, because a lot of times we are, like you said, the comfort takes away our primal instinct. It really does. I mean, at the end of the day, you should at some time to go to the shooting range. You should
Yes.
at some time to, if you don't want to box or if you don't want to study self-defense, you should at least have your physicality up to par. You should be hitting the gym or doing something. And a lot of people, like you said, they were like, well, that could never happen to me. That and until it does happen to them. And like you said, when it comes to this phone, when it comes to this TV, and all of these distractions in life, people are getting further away from actually surviving. So this is why the
Mm-hmm.
world goes in panic mode when they get fed some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? When they get fed in
Yeah.
from from the government or anything like that, it's like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Instead of going and looking at your family and saying, hey, I got this.
Yeah.
That's being a man to me. I mean, I can't give
Yeah.
a full definition of being a man, but this is a man show. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
my path has been trial and error. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's touch the path real quick. When you are in high school, the first thing and the first rule is sustainability and survivalship. So when they say everybody hates that word free when we talk about internship, and everybody doesn't have supportive parents. So when you say I have a purpose, right?
Yeah.
That purpose can get so discouraging because you go to school, they say, hey, be an intern. How much do I get paid? Nothing. Okay, how do I eat? I don't know. Well, you're going to have to get a job. Okay, that person gets a job. That job takes you away mentally, physically, spiritually from your purpose, right?
Yeah.
Because you're getting a job to survive, right? But you
Yeah.
want to be here. Now, what happens is life happens. Life gets in the way. So you could have a baby, or you know what I'm saying, you could really be broke, and then this money over here at this job gets good to you. So now you're devoting more time and you're buying in to that particular job's philosophy, and years are starting to go by. So that book you were going to write, that sabbatical that you were going to go on, that journey that you were going to go down, that becomes years out, and you start to kind of, it starts to eat away at you. So that's what I'm saying is like, how do we get this new generation to say it really is all about purpose when everything that they see right now, everything skyrockets? It's easy to say it's not about money, but when a value meal costs $10 now, you know what I'm saying, it costs $100 a day to go outside. How do you get that person to still focus on purpose?
So to me, a lot of times I feel like people get ahead of themselves, and that's why they get tripped up where they are.
Okay.
Something one of my coaches said to me that always stick with me. He said, KYP, you got to know your personnel. You got to know who you dealing with, even when you're dealing with yourself. You can take 100 people and put them through your journey. They won't be sitting in that chair to be you. You dig what I'm saying? So you got to know yourself. I jumped off and went for myself. But the next person you might need to establish that job before you sign up for school. I don't know how you live your life. I don't know what you can handle in a day. But you know.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta already have those things in place. It's gotta be preparation. You know what I mean? That's what we weren't taught. We were taught to jump off the porch, and some people just didn't jump at all. But we weren't taught to actually prepare for the journey that you were trying to take, because a lot of us didn't know where we were going. We was running in the dark. You can't prepare for that. You just gotta start running. You know what I mean? So now that we've established now this world and these younger generations can see it, they gotta prepare for what they're trying to do. But first, they got to get to a point of knowing what they want to do. So there's other things that now come before that have to offset. This is how healing works now. So now we had to address, see, this is a lot of times why parents get addressed. It's not because the child has an issue with a parent. It's because they've been free running and they hit this wall. And they don't know where this wall came from or who put it up. And a lot of times it was the people around them growing up. Sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally. You dig what I'm saying? But
That's
let's say this wall is a parent who's, oh, when my kid's 18, they got to get out the house. Let's say that's the wall. And you might have needed to stay with them till you were 20 and stack some bread and then sign up for school. That's your path. So yeah, you're 18 and you're coming to me like, yo, I hit this wall, I left, I just got to go to school and figure it out. I can't advise you to do that. I don't know what you might go to school and drop out in 2 months. You feel me? Like, I don't know what you're going to do next, but you know what you're going to do. So you have to start learning yourself and ask what you want to do and what position are you in. Because then at 18, let's say that is your situation. You out the house. And some kids want to leave at 18. It's not always the parents. Some kids already had that in their mind. Oh, when I'm 18, I'm out. So let's say that's your situation. Regardless of how you got here, you're here. See, this is how we start to dissect life. This is the duality. You're going to meet two kids. Some parents pushed them out, some ran away. But they still 18 and out the house. So regardless of how you feel about it, from now, you know yourself. I got to stack for 2 years. I got to go work this McDonald's job for 2 years and put this bread away for 2 years. You know what I mean? Because your 20s to me is your years you need to be experimenting, trying new things, working new jobs, dating new people, being single, traveling, moving around, changing your number, change your hair. You dig? Like, experiment, get to see what feels good with you. You dig? And
wait a minute. So wait a minute.
harp on that. Go ahead.
You don't disagree with Glorilla when she said, "Be toxic in your 20s."
Nah, not at all. Because I feel like you learn the right way by doing it the wrong way. And that fear that we've been talking about this whole show is people are afraid to do it wrong. But you got to fall in love with that because that's a part of the process. That's where the growth is. And the only thing that's in that unknown is unknown parts of you. You're not going to go out there and learn things about the world by healing yourself. You're going to unlock new parts of you that's been dormant, that's been waiting for you to recognize it. But you're so focused on this comfort. So there's all these uncomfortable things that you could like or could not, but you haven't explored them yet. You dig? So then you create the internet people, Twitter fingers. You create all these people who start reading books and reading articles and speaking on experiences that they've never lived. So you can talk to all these people about this shit, but if you never went through it, you can't tell me about it. You shouldn't even speak on it. You dig what I'm saying?
So let me ask you this then. Now we about to hey, ladies and gentlemen, me and Tim about to start arguing. So go ahead and strap in right now. About to start attacking his millennial generation.
Yeah.
All right, so let's dig a little deeper. Pause. Why is it that when millennials and Gen Z and Gen Y hit that wall, they become angry? Why is it that in their 20s they are so freaking, okay, I can say so fucking angry when they hit the wall, and then when they look at us, they're like, you didn't teach me this, or you didn't do this, or you were too hard on me. It's like, we didn't complain when, baby boomers and the generation before that were stern and hard. We just took this shit and kept rolling. It's like, when we talk to y'all are so fucking angry.
Yeah.
And like, why? Where's this anger
because we realize there's a whole bunch of people in the world who are not feeling their feelings, and we can't turn that off. Like, that's the thing that people don't understand about our generation. We get criticized for how we are, like we're choosing to be some of these ways. Some of us just came out like this. And what we're saying is there's not enough people like that. So now we don't have a place where we feel welcomed and accepted and invited. That's why a lot of us are loners. It's not because we want to be alone. It's because we do not get accepted. When you speak a certain way, people treat you differently. When you have a certain amount of money, people treat you differently. When you have a certain car, people treat you differently. And I've never resonated with that. I've never vibed with that. I don't like that because I get to know people. I don't care if you have a lot or a little. I'm going to get to know your character and your heart. That's you to me. Not all these, masks that we put on. And it's cool that people put them on. I'm not taking that from people. But there has to become a point to where we have to start living in reality. And they're giving us so far in this virtual world. That's what we were pissed about as kids because we could see it happening. It's taking over the real life experience. But that's why I love black people, because you get enough in the room, we're going to have a good time. We gonna
Well,
have some fun. You know what I mean? And that's what we're trying to spread to the world. But we're learning at the same time. You can't save everybody. That's my hardest lesson I've had as a healer. You can't save everybody because everybody doesn't want to be saved. You dig what
well,
I'm saying? It's like trying to wake up somebody that's gonna get pissed. Like, you should have let me sleep. And that happens all the time, and we've experienced that so much. And again, we chose not to turn off our feelings. So we've been feeling this whole time with no guidance. And that's not us blaming you. The relationship me and you have is the relationship we want with everybody. I want to be able to speak in a way you don't take it personally in what I'm saying. You can just hear what I'm saying. But a lot of us, it was taken personally. And then we were either shut off or it came with backlash to the point it's a reinforcement now. If you keep giving backlash, eventually they're not going to want to talk about it no more. To me, that's manipulation. And acceptance and accountability is listening, is saying, okay, let me hear you out. But then a higher level of conversating is saying, I don't have to like or agree with what you're saying, but I hear you. I understand what you're saying, because a lot of times we just want to be understood. I don't want you to agree or fix my problem. I
right.
just need you to understand I have this problem, because respectfully in my life, 98% of people I have to listen to complain about shit. I mean, like, if I was being an asshole, I'd be like, you're complaining about some dumb shit. You dig what I mean? Like, this is not important. And I
And
have things that are important going on in life. Like, we got to figure out how my kids are going to eat. Like, that's important. Those are things I want to talk about. Those are things I want to deal with. I yell at my kids because I was yelled at. Those are things I want to talk about. I want to deal with that. But we live in a society now where sporting teams are, top priority on the talk list. You know what I mean? We're talking about drama. We're talking about gossip. We're talking about entertainment. But it's not those things that we've been holding on to for all of these years that sometimes it just takes a conversation. You know what I mean? It doesn't always have to end in a resolution.
well, Adrian, we are not angry. I want to clear this up. We are not angry with millennials, and we are not angry with Gen Z or any of the like. Let me explain. In a group of 5 kids, the big brother loves the little brother. The big brother is the protector of the little brother. Sometimes the big brother resents the little brother of what he can get away with. And the reason being is because when the big brother was born, the parents, that was the firstborn is usually the trial baby. You know what I'm saying? The firstborn coming through is the one that, had the mind, had to make sure, hey, watch out for your other brothers and sisters. You can't do this. You have to set the example. You have to do this, that, the other. So now the younger brother, you'll be like, damn, well, why did he get away with that? Or damn, what the hell? So let me translate that to what you're saying. When the millennials came and told their jobs, no, you don't work, we don't work for you, you work for us.
Right.
If it wasn't for us, your company won't thrive. So we want this vacation day. We want all this. We want X, Y, Z. Not only are you interviewing us, we're interviewing you. We're telling you we don't want to work for your company. We would never have thought about some shit like that. We would have never even fathomed something like that. When we see kids from millennials on speaking their mind back to their parents, we were like, I would have got my neck broke for that.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of it is not we're angry. And then a lot of times too, Adrian, when you guys buckle at some simple shit, we were like, we would have survived that shit. I mean, that ain't nothing. So we
Mm-hmm.
feel we're not angry. We just feel the entitlement of your generation. We feel like everything buckles when it comes to you. We feel sometimes that your generation is brittle. It's very brittle. And then we had to overcome a lot. So we're not angry. We just look at that generation sometimes like, that broke you? Damn,
Mm-hmm.
that made you buckle? Like, wow, our generation.
But that's a double-edged sword, because we were doing the same thing when we were kids. Oh, you're lying about paying a bill? You lying about the fact that we can't have Christmas because we broke? You lying that this my uncle and you got 3 different niggas in the house? Like, we went
Wow.
through the same thing with y'all. And again, that's the difference. We were silenced, and now we have a voice. We can't be silenced no more. Y'all chose, like you said, we would have never did that. Y'all chose not to do that. We didn't have a choice. They never gave us a choice. That's the issue. We're not saying you did it right or wrong. We're saying at least give us a choice to mess up. At least allow me to make a mistake. Am I not human? Am I not like, did you not mess up? And the issue was you got this parent saying, go be this by 25, and they not where we were at 25. Go be this at 18. I was making more money than my parents did at 18. And it wasn't just because money was different. I was working more than them. And I was still running my business. And I was on the way to having kids. I grew up with my grandparents. My parents wasn't working a job and had me, and we was doing this. So we came from a generation to where y'all made that choice. We never had that opportunity. We never had that opportunity. That was taken from us. So once we got that opportunity, we ran wild with it. Absolutely. What else would we have done? What are the animals going to do when you let them out to zoo?
I'm not getting that, Tim. What was taken from you? It kind of
Our
clarifies.
opportunity. We were forced to go to school and go to jobs. That was chosen for us. We didn't choose college. College wasn't a thing we all wanted to do. We had to live up to the expectation of, well, my parents couldn't send me to college, so you have to go. We were forced to live a life based on a life that was taken away from our parents. That's not fair. So we never had a chance to be ourselves and grow up. I was that younger sibling. So the issue with what you said was the resentment, because you start resenting your sibling. You can't resent me for something I was born into. I didn't choose this. I didn't ask for this. Our parents decided that. So why am I not holding them accountable? And I'm fighting with my siblings because the unorganized family that they brought us into. And you knew you wasn't ready for a kid, but you out here having sex and making babies. Because we wasn't the first generation that started doing that. That's old. Every generation does that. So why was that happen? Why can't we address that? Why does that get swept under the rug? Why are we not able to get a response? Because again, we didn't ask to be brought here. Those two people decided that. So you don't feel you at least owe me an explanation? You at least should tell me, since we're so responsible, since y'all's generation is so tough, you can't even face your child and tell them that you messed up? Because that's true strength to me. And being emotional is not being brittle. That's being strong. Hiding your emotions to me is weakness.
Allow us to learn how to strengthen ourselves. We just don't hide these things anymore. What is she saying? Like
we basically, when we were kids, we couldn't speak. Now that we're adults, we're saying every word. We not gonna hold our tongues ever again.
but here's the thing. Okay. And I don't want this to go into a back and forth thing, because obviously there's differences. There's progression, as Tim has already said. There's evolution. So I get it. Trust me, I get it. But when I look at, take an average fast food restaurant, Adrian, and you go there, and the quality of service that you get when you go there, and you see nothing but teenagers back there, and they could care less. They just on the job milking the clock. Now, of course, you can debate, well, you shouldn't be eating fast food anyway. Okay, granted. But I know that when we were 14, 15, 16, we had for the most part, there was a sense of purpose. We were getting ready to be adults. We wanted to be adults. So we took the job seriously. We took life pretty much seriously at that age. You know what I'm saying? Like Tim said, to Tim's point, I probably should have never had to have that choice to work at 13. But in the 80s, during the crack era, it was either I was going to be on the block or I had to get it some kind of way. So it forced me to grow up. You know what I'm saying? Because nobody was coming to save me, But as I see that these kids of today, mom is going to buy them the Jordan. They just put it this way. A lot of their money is fuck off money. It's not survival. Mom is going to take care of the Jordans,
right,
or outfits and things of that nature. My burger money, that was for my Jordans. That was for my mom. My grandmother wasn't doing that. You know what I'm saying? So therefore, again, we're not saying you can't make the mistakes. We're just looking like, man, why does everything break you down? Why does everything is like you got, okay, for a prime example, me and Sweetheart were watching The Shy last night, right?
yeah.
We were watching The Shy, and it was I can't even watch that episode again. It was too emotional for me. You know what I'm saying? But there was a counseling session, and sorry for the spoilers. If you want to watch the episode, just turn this off real quick while I explain this to Tim. But there was a counseling session, and the mom was saying that, well, the daughter was actually in counseling, but the mom was sitting in the counseling session. So she was just saying that, Mom, you were always working. You were never there. You were never there.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to your point, she was like, well, I had a kid. So I knew that I didn't want to raise you how I was being raised. So I worked to put you in a better neighborhood, to, do X, Y, and Z,
Mm-hmm.
trying to do better for you. And the daughter was like, well, you weren't there. She was like, and so the counselor looks at the mom. She was like, well, if you didn't have kids, what would you be doing? She was like, I wanted to be single. I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to do this, but I was having sex and I had a kid. She was like, when the counselor looked at uh, the mother and said, well, did you want kids? She said, no. And the daughter looks at her like, you didn't want me? She was like, no, I'm not saying I didn't want you. She's saying, I'm saying that I had you, but I didn't realize that I had this life I wanted to live. So basically, I dialed back, handled my responsibility, but all the daughter heard was, you didn't want me. That's what I'm calling brittle. She didn't hear the mom that says, and let me finish, Tim. She didn't hear the mom that says, I dialed back. I didn't plan on having you. I had you. I wanted to make sure that I did better for you. And the mom couldn't win either way, because if she had been a welfare mom in the hood, she probably would have been exposed to all those things in the hood. Now she chose to be a working mom, and things that happened in the 80s and 90s where the dad wasn't there, or there was just a strain on the black relationship, that therefore she had to work to do better for her kids. So it was, and when I say, when it comes to our generation, Gen X,
Yeah.
we was damned if we did, and we damned if we didn't. You know my situation, Tim.
So that really just proved my point. And this is why I never felt like it was a back and forth. We're just both giving our perspective. You know what I mean? But you just proved my point. And the way she could have avoided all that is by not having the kid. So what she said to her daughter is a sugar-coated version of what happened. So to me, that's brittle. That's soft. Be honest. You had that kid irresponsibly. So don't turn around and say, oh, I had a kid and then I decided to be responsible. You had the kid irresponsibly. So every choice you're going to make after that is an irresponsible one. Going to get a job where your kid wants you, because now we focus on these things. See, and when y'all were growing up, psychology was taboo. That wasn't even a thing. Why? Because you have to deal with your feelings and your emotions. That's all therapy is. It's opening up to those things you've been holding back. So we wouldn't need therapy if we were already doing these things at home. Yes, I'm going to resent the person that denied me that, but told me, oh yeah, drink cow's milk. It's going to give you strong bones. So we can't talk about that, about how all the poison they put into us, about how they were forcing us to get shots and injections from doctors we never met,
Right.
by how you're not even going to get checked up and checking on your health, by the type of food we're feeding each other, calling it soul food and good, but it's giving us diabetes. So we can't address none of that, but you went and got a job, so you were responsible, right? Come on, that's you can't BS us. That's what it is about our generation. That's why we have this relationship we have with the other generations. You just can't just tell us how it is. And that's how we wanted it to be. But no, it was a bunch of watered down versions of what actually happened. So now I can't trust you at your word because you're not being honest. You ain't being honest with yourself. So why would I think you're going to be honest with me? So
Okay.
no, I'm not a jerk for holding you accountable for the things I have to hold myself accountable for every day. But I'm still being ridiculed. Our generation gets judged by parents that didn't raise us or how we raise our kids. That's not crazy to y'all.
Well,
Like that's insane to me.
Lakeisha Harvey is from Generation X. I know Lakeisha Harvey is a friend of mine, and she's saying he makes it sound like this generation is not having kids irresponsibly.
Who did we learn it from?
No, Tim, you can't do that. You can't.
No, who do we?
You
How
can't,
can I not do that? You're
can't do
not going to
that,
be predisposed to what you're seeing every day.
Tim. The
How
thing.
how are you blaming the people who inherited a world that you built? It would be your fault, correct? No, I'm asking you logically. If you built a world and then gave it to someone, how are you blaming them for the state of the world that they inherited?
What generation X is saying is that you can't have it both ways. You can't be enlightened and say that we did everything wrong, and then once you turn around and don't do any better or worse, blame it on us. Like, you did everything wrong. We'll do better.
When
Is
did
what
we
we're
blame? When did I blame you on anything that I
no,
said during
no,
this entire? No, no. I'm asking you. When did I use the word blame in this entire segment of anything I said?
and I wanted to clarify that when I said the back and forth, I was talking about our audience. So we talk. Me and you talk. So I never said that.
No,
What
I
I'm
mean
saying,
between generations. This is what we're saying. Us telling y'all how we feel is not a shot at y'all. That's why she said y'all seem angry. Because y'all triggered by every single thing we say when we're just expressing and venting how we feel. Are we not allowed to do that? But it starts to reaffirm that's not a good behavior when someone's all, that's bad, that's aggressive, that's wrong. And that's what we grew up in. That's what we're saying. We're not saying it's good, bad, or in the middle. We're saying it happened. Let's acknowledge it happened. But
right?
you can't sweep things under the rug over here and say, let's be serious over here. You should take no. Everything has to be taken serious. Everything has to be addressed, or we're just having small talk. That's what we're saying. We're holding our parents accountable. That's not a bad thing. We got to take the negativity out of what we're doing. This is a healing journey. We're
Absolutely.
not trying to bash y'all. We're telling y'all the truth.
What we're saying is that, and Lakeisha, tell me if I'm right or wrong. The tone of it.
Oh man, that's
The,
personal though. I can't help you. I can't help the tone. See, now that's what I mean by like we have to
well, let
be
me finish.
See what I mean by like
Let
we don't have a
me finish.
choice.
Let me finish.
Go ahead, go ahead,
The,
man.
the tone of it, Tim, seems like you did. It's like, oh, and I'm speaking in that person.
Yeah,
You did everything wrong, but you need to be accountable. But when we do it wrong, it's, we got a scapegoat. Well, we learned from you. It's like, okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, who has the guide to parenting? Who has the guide to any of this?
so why are y'all taking it so personally then?
We're not, Tim. We're
You
not.
are. Everything you just said sounds very personal.
No,
You use
no.
the word tone.
What
You
I'm saying,
said, well, when you do it's okay when you do it, but it's a problem. Like,
no.
that's personal. Why are
Well,
y'all taking this so personally?
the personal is not. We're trying to get to resolution and saying Generation Z and Generation whoever will do better. If you have the knowledge that we did it wrong, just do better.
We have been doing better. Would you not agree?
In certain aspects. But I'm gonna tell you
So
this:
what else are we speaking on do better in? When you say do better, what are we referring to?
we're talking about what we passed down. Is that correct?
Yeah,
So
no, we're talking about how we're raising our kids right now.
right. So we're not talking about the Tim Russes of the world. We're talking about the moms in the world who are having these babies at 16. And at least I'm gonna tell you this: at least we had the unction and the empathy to say, okay, I'm not going to be out of the club. I'm going to work with.
Some of y'all, most of y'all have big mama. We have no big mama. So I would have to disagree
Well,
there.
let me
Y'all had a big scapegoat that we
I'm
do
talking
not
about
have this day and age.
I'm talking about my culture and what I saw. The 20-year-olds that were having kids in the
So
90s.
those are the Delanes. Remember how you said those are the Tim Russells? So those are the Delanes. You can't speak for everybody. Y'all had a big clutch. A lot of y'all was leaving y'all's kids with grandma.
Point
You
taken.
gonna disagree on that?
I'm not going to be delusional. I'm not going to be delusional on this show. I get it, but I seen more responsible parents than I do now. Is what.
I would have to strongly disagree. And again, this is why my generation feels this way, because we can't acknowledge the elephant in the room, that there was an injustice did, and it doesn't matter who did it, it happened. So now how can we come together and fix things? But if we can't be honest about what happened, how can we say we're trying to move forward? That's what my generation's saying. If we can't just come out and say sorry, because y'all did us wrong in several ways, and we have over glorified y'all in several ways. Y'all don't know how we represented our parents when y'all weren't around. We talked about y'all like gods. Were y'all living like gods? Absolutely not. We still don't live like gods to this day. That's my point. So we feel guilty about all that stuff. We want to celebrate our parents. We want to brag about y'all. We want to say my dad came to the game. But we can't talk about that because every time we talk, oh, it's like y'all coming at us, like y'all attacking us. I'm attacking you by telling you what you did to me.
Well, Tim,
That's what that is, because that sounds like manipulation.
no, Tim.
I'm attacking you about reaccounting a situation you put me in, or
Okay.
am I just telling my truth?
That,
Am I testifying?
so when you tell your truth, let me read what Lakeisha says. You just said y'all have a choice, but y'all are choosing to continue to trend. So now it's on y'all, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. It's been on us since we was kids.
y'all are grown, right? You can fix it, right? And that's all we're saying. It looks
And
like
we're fixing it, but it takes two to tango. I can set up therapy, but I can't make you come. That's what we're saying. That's what we're see how we don't get heard. Listen to everything she said and see how it's bits and pieces of what I said.
so. If
But
we
the overview of what I'm saying is we're creating the opportunity to heal and it's being rejected.
I'm going to go back and agree with you. If we take everything personal, y'all are defensive about everything. About
Yeah.
everything.
Because we grew up with parents that took everything personal. Do you not see how that's cause and effect? Do you not see how I can blame my parent for that? Since we're using the word blame, do they not have blame in that? If somebody comes to school, a bully comes to school and punches you every day, and now you have a flinching reaction, I'm going to make fun of your reaction? Or am I not going to realize that what someone is doing caused you to change what you're doing? I
Okay,
have to hold you accountable for that.
so I'm going to put my wall down, Tim, for your generation. I'm going to put my wall down for 1 second. And I will agree with you to say if you feel I'm personal, and I'm not talking to you directly, Tim, I'm talking to your generation.
Yeah.
You feel I'm personal, it's that with the greatest intent, we try to do better than those baby boomers. With the greatest of intent, we try to be progressive by moving you out of the neighborhood that crumbled us, the trauma that crumbled us. But with the greatest intent, we did this. And a lot of times when it comes to that millennial mindset, when it comes to that Gen Z mindset, we don't even get the credit for trying. This is where the personal comes into play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's
I
my
can't.
transparency and the why I get offended
Yeah.
when my generation at least saw the demise and the uncle smoking the pipe, the aunt smoking the pipe, the grandma doing ill things for this crack rock. And we said, oh, not on our watch. We know that crack is bad. We know that them people from the 70s, they graduated from heroin and coke, and they got manipulated like the slave ship that says, oh, this is a party drug. And
Mm.
basically slept and walked on that ship. And we was like, well, we're not walking on that ship. We're going and getting affirmative action. We're going and getting those United Negro College funds. We're going to college. We're going to show the millennials and Generation Z that, yes, we can go to school. You don't have to, but guess what? We don't have to succumb to that crack rock. We don't have to succumb to that pimp and prostitution era that we
Mm.
saw. So we like, yeah, we taking this shit personal because we try to steer everything away from what it was, but we did have to work 10 times as hard to reverse this curse. And if we don't get no credit for that, well, damn if we do and damn if we don't.
But we're not. But that's the thing. You're sending us an impossible task. You want us to right a wrong that someone else did to you. We did not hurt y'all. Again, y'all had us out of hurt. Let's start at the beginning. Let us not forget how we got here. So y'all have to always keep that in mind, and y'all be seeming to forget that. Y'all be acting like we owe y'all something, or like, no, you brought me here. You owe me everything. Like, I'm confused. I don't owe you a thing.
We do. We just don't want to keep getting the finger pointed at how wrong we were.
But if you were wrong, you were wrong. What's wrong with being wrong? And y'all were wrong. Even in your explanation, I can tell you how y'all were wrong.
We
Y'all
were
built this world
trying,
that y'all were
we
saying
were
that was better for us. Y'all built it
trying to
out of
reverse
spite.
that. We were
Y'all
wrong.
built the world that y'all were saying were better for us out of spite. What we were saying, because again, I put the emphasis on we don't have a big mama, and y'all did. So if y'all were trying to be more like Big Mama, our generation would have had one. Y'all were not trying to be like your parents. You can't do a kind act out of spite. Y'all are starting this from bitter roots. And now it's grown into a bitter tree, and y'all mad at us, and we're the bitter fruit that came from the seeds that y'all planted. How can you say you're holding yourself accountable in that process? How?
We just basically said we can't try to get you out of an environment with an economy and with a world economy that says, okay, it costs $140,000 to live here. You know what I'm saying? Who's going to pay the bills, Tim? Who's going to
Yo,
pay?
they can't. Y'all can't get us out of that neighborhood and that economy when they're buying packs of cigarettes and Pepsi and Mountain Dew.
Huh? Well, I think we froze.
To this day, we still live above our means. That's what I said. People are ahead of themselves. So don't talk to me about, oh, I need you to save money and have an education when we watch the whole generation not save money, not take opportunity investments, not keep grandma's house. How many of y'all sold grandma's house? So how are you going to try to make it seem like, oh, I did this nice thing for you over here? Don't talk about all these things over here that I didn't do. Just don't mention them. Let's focus on these few nice things I did. What? And we didn't grow up in that. I got held accountable for every single thing I did when I had kids young.
You know why, Tim? And I'm gonna keep it real with you, because grandma's house, it was a decent neighborhood when grandma was living there. But 22nd Avenue ended up being the hood, Tim. 17th Avenue ended up being the hood, okay? So therefore, we sold grandma's house so we can get that house in Canal Winchester. We sold that house to get that house in Westerville. We sold that house to get that house in Worthington.
Because those people in Westerville keep their wealth in Westerville. They don't take it to Gehenna. That's why that neighborhood doesn't prosper. Because once y'all get wealth, you take the wealth out the neighborhood. How is it ever going to grow?
Tim.
How is it ever going to grow if we take the wealth out the neighborhood? Answer me that.
Nah,
it can't. You see what I'm saying? Y'all left us in an impossible situation and then get upset that we don't know what to do with it.
No. This is the thing, Tim. I agree with you. But at the same time, that has shit to do with me raising my kids in that neighborhood.
That has everything to do with that. That has everything, because now, since you moved, the choice that you made, that you decided was better for everyone, you have to be held accountable for how this goes wrong. Isn't that what leaders do? See, again, it's funny that we're called brittle, but we're breeding the leaders. And y'all's generation didn't have a lot of leaders. They didn't have a lot of civil activists. They didn't have people standing up. Those were kids doing that at that time. Those were 20-year-olds. Okay. Y'all don't have people that was upstanding doing those things.
So why? Because we were bastards of the civil rights movement. By the time we came into play in the 70s, they had already killed Malcolm X. They had already killed Martin Luther King.
So there has to be another one.
So wait a second. So based on, you said y'all were born out of spite. Tim, we were born out of fear. You feel me?
So you don't feel like y'all passed that on to us? So how are you?
I think you froze. Tim, if you are listening to this podcast, this is Good Life Friday. Are you there?
All right, there you go.
Okay, cool. Go ahead,
Tim.
What
we're saying is it's not one thing. And this, again, this isn't a bashing system. You can say in your own right how y'all were born, how y'all was raised. Y'all didn't have these opportunities. You couldn't go sit with a therapist when you were my age. These things weren't normal. These things weren't taboo. What we're saying is we understand that, but y'all don't have to keep beating us over the head with how y'all was raised, because we weren't raised too much better is what we're saying. So how we affect our kids is by dealing with it right here. But if we keep going back and forth saying who was raised worse, our kids are going to be raised even worse. That's the problem of what we're saying. We get it. Y'all had a hard knock life. We did too.
we only push back when we see how ungrateful y'all can be. We only push back. That's
because this isn't about credit though. That's what I'm saying. That's a personal battle. That has nothing to do with me. I never have to say thank you to anyone ever. I don't owe anyone that. I choose to do that. What I'm saying is y'all are expecting something because you were there, because you did your job. You want a cookie because you decided to raise the kids that you had.
Let's go back to what Adrian said.
What?
Let's go back to what Adrian said. You can say nothing, but because you guys are so vocal about how wrong you were raised, that's when I'm like, yo, we don't bash you over the head. It's just like you guys are vocal about everything. It's like, damn. Well, if I was such a bad parent, I would have hate for you to come up at the time that I came up with. Goddamn, you know.
But again, that's the point. You're making the point I just made. Like, comparison is evil. That you can't compare two different things. You can't put me in your generation. I didn't come up in your generation. So it doesn't matter if my skills would have applied then. That's my point. Y'all are setting this height we cannot reach, and we're saying we're exhausted, but y'all saying, oh, I was able to jump higher than that back in my day. That's irrelevant to what I'm experiencing right now.
oh,
Do you realize that? I
oh,
can't change the past. I
okay.
didn't decide for people not to raise you. That's not my beef with you. My
So
beef is I'm trying to get it right now, and parents are not trying to get it right now. That's what our issue is.
sounds like a bitter young man who is 2023 informed, and that tone is not helping the of things. I don't want to read her. I don't want to read her. Tim, can you go back and read Adrian's comment? I don't want
I
to just read.
can't. Yeah, hold on. Let me see. I gotta pull it up on my phone. She's proving my point right now. This is talking to y'all's generation. Everything she's saying. This is why we can't get through to y'all, because y'all trying to hear a certain thing. You got your mind made up about how the conversation should go, and when it doesn't go that way, oh, they're too loud, they're too aggressive. I don't like your tone. Those are personal things. We're adults. It doesn't matter what my tone is, as long as my message is honest and true, and I'm actually trying to connect to you. I can't control my tone. I'm passionate about what I talk to. A person that doesn't know me wouldn't understand that. So again, we have to take the initiative to open our minds to understand what other people are saying. But if we got this closed off idea of how conversations should go or how someone my age should talk, we get things like this.
I want you to read. I don't want to say anything until we adhere to our listeners.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Hold on.
thank you guys for listening.
Oh
Again,
yeah,
I
it's
don't want
juicy this morning.
I don't want to keep explaining me and Tim's diet. We're not with each. We're definitely passionate. I respect his side, but we gonna talk. I mean, that's one thing that we do on the show. We gonna talk. So
Yeah, Adrian said this is what he means by you're not listening. You can't hear what he's saying because you're stuck on tone. Yeah, listen, a lot of times we're being heard. See, these are things that are hard truths. A lot of my generation is saying we weren't raised, we were taken care of. These are hard truths that we got to acknowledge and accept. But let us open up the possibility that our kids are saying these same things to us. Do y'all not realize that? We're going through the same thing. So what we're saying is you can't have it two ways. You can't tell your kid, okay, I want you to be better, but you're not showing me you're bettering yourself and you're growing in your own right. You're
but
not
Tim,
qualified to give me that kind of advice.
I'm gonna give y'all a hard truth. If we raise y'all to be that way, y'all's kids don't give a fuck right now. They don't.
That's
They
good. That's
fuck.
good. That's good. That means they're going to figure out they're kids. I'm where I am now at 34 years old. Imagine where I'm going to be at 45. Imagine where I'm going to be at 55. I'm still a kid in my own right. I still have things I have to learn. I'm
What
not in a rush to this life thing. We're
what
kids.
what good is it when your kids don't even value human life, Tim?
They're not always going to be like that. My kids are going to constantly grow. So, yeah, they'll have times when they don't have it figured out. I'm not judging them on each step that they make either. I'm judging on the overall product. So if I don't get it right in the first 10, but I get it right in the last 10, am I going to cry about the first 10?
No, no, you're
So
not.
what are we talking about? They're kids. They're supposed to be kids. Y'all weren't allowed that. So how are y'all trying to school us when you had to grow up too early? You don't know what it means to be a kid till 21. So
But
how do you have advice about that?
but you know the tone, and I will go back to the tone of your kids' generation is raising sociopaths, is raising.
Yeah. And y'all had a lot of those too. The crack era created sociopaths. Y'all had a lot of those too. What's the difference? So again, you see what you just said, how there's two similar things, but somehow y'all looking at it like it's different. So what's different now that we're doing the same thing that y'all did? See, you see my point? You see how y'all are judging us for doing the same thing y'all did, but it's different now that we're doing it.
I'm not putting sociopath on Generation X. I'm putting sociopath on that generation prior to. You know what I'm saying? We tried to change the dynamic. Do you know? And
Well,
I
y'all can blame y'all's parents, but we
here,
can't blame y'all.
here's the thing, and I say this: the '80s, the late '80s, and the '90s produced more of us trying to get out into a neighborhood to raise a family, to get out of those projects, to get out. They did. Our generation produced more. of black yuppies than any generation. Why? Because we wanted better.
And that was the wrong move.
That's him. It doesn't deserve credit, but it does.
It was the wrong move.
Well, let me finish. Our generation, because we produced that, factually gave us a conscience. Factually gave us something that said that we wanted better, right?
I don't know, but that was the wrong move, regardless. Again, you want a cookie for doing the wrong thing, for just showing up. You showed up, you participated. Where's my trophy? That's what it sounds like you're saying, but that was the wrong move. Y'all desegregated when segregation was the best thing that ever happened to black people. Y'all took the wealth out of the black community. How was that the right move?
Let me break it down in layman's terms. We can be apologetic, but damn, do we have to get beaten over the head for something that we intentionally wanted to do right or to get right? We can be apologetic. We can say
until it's fixed. Yes, it's not fixed still. There's still a wealth distribution. We're going through gentrification right now.
Past. We can't change the past,
but we can work on it. How have we been working on it? Where are those retirement checks going to? How are they going back to the hood? Where's them SSI checks going to? How are they going back to the hood? How many people are taking out of their paycheck and putting back into the hood? So yeah, we can work on it today. How is your generation working on it?
You're not even seeing the small things. Do you know since the pandemic, Generation X and your generation has created more dialogue? What do you think?
I don't want small things after 30 years.
Produce these type of podcasts.
Small things after 30 years is a waste of time. I don't want just small things. We have to have big things going as well, medium things and small things. We can't just say, look at these crumbs over here. We could have had a cake. No, that's not enough for us.
That means you're contradicting yourself from what
How?
Okay, let me explain. Because as I gave you props and accolades for even changing my mind and saying, okay, when I come back out, Tim, I'm going to have this big old studio and no, you have to use what you have. I even gave you credit to that. You have to use what you have.
Right. And that's my generation that you're doing that with. You also said that on the show. It's a lot of your generation I'm meeting and networking. Your dad said the same thing. So again, you're giving your generation credit for something my generation is doing right now, ahead of schedule than which anything that y'all did. That's what I'm saying. So y'all owe us some respect. So we're doing things well before y'all did it. We did things y'all didn't have the courage to do. We demand some respect too.
Okay, that's fine. Can you acknowledge that we came to the table to talk to you?
Absolutely, but it takes two to talk is what I'm saying, Layne. You see how I'm talking now? Her response was, he sounds like a bitter young man. If you already have your mind made up by seeing me on one show, how can we have a conversation? How can you tell me you're actually listening to what I'm saying? And you're not just hearing what I'm saying with certain ears on.
Okay, so guess what? We're both unhappy with each other's tone. Can we acknowledge that?
I don't care about tone. I've said that many times. We can rewind the tape. I don't get caught up in things like tone. I listen to what you're actually saying. I don't care about if you wrote it on a note. I don't care if you passed it to me, if you whispered it. I'm hearing what you're actually saying because I want a resolution.
So instead of getting offended by this young lady who wants to know your perspective, explain to her why you feel the way.
I didn't get offended. I'm calling a spade a spade. You don't get to first impressions is the lasting one. That's something Big Mama taught me. I'm calling a spade a spade. I'm saying come into her next conversation and actually try to hear the person and listen to the person and not hear the person. Once you disengage me or show me we can't connect, I choose disconnection. I'm not going to be able to connect with everyone. And I don't want anyone to see my side. I'm not trying to recruit. What I'm saying is if you can't actually listen to what I'm saying, what conversation can we have? You're not going to listen to anything I would say. Why would I change my tone for you? That's conforming. I don't conform. I speak how I speak. If it doesn't resonate on you, you don't have to listen.
Right.
Because the people who listen to my message keep listening to my message. So I'm not tripping if one person thinks I'm upset. You don't know me.
She said,
this may be how I talk.
Well, to her credit, she said, I hear you, young sir. I hear you.
So that's what I'm saying. So you see how that was uncomfortable, but we broke through it. Now we can have a conversation. That's what we're saying. And what we're hearing from our parents' generation, oh, it's too uncomfortable. Y'all keep bringing that uncomfortable. It's going to be uncomfortable, and you don't get to decide for how long. You made your bed when you had that kid. You don't get to decide how long it takes to raise them. That's what I'm saying.
I don't like the double standard, though, Tim.
But there's double standards in life. I'm not the only one that don't get to use them, and everybody in the world get to use double standards.
My brother, and I don't mean this.
Oh, man.
My brother, I don't like the double standard and I'm pointing out the millennials. I'm talking specifically to the millennials. I don't like the double standard that we have to accept your tone, but the minute we disagree, that's an old way of thinking. That's da 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 da. It's like if we have to accept your tone and we have to tiptoe around your feelings, then accept our tone too.
But
I don't
that's the
like that.
thing. Y'all don't have to accept our tone. This is where we say y'all hearing us and y'all not listening because we constantly have
We want
misunderstandings like
to.
these.
We want to. We
Y'all,
want
we
to.
constantly have a misunderstanding. So let me clear that up. Y'all don't have to accept anything. That's what we're saying. But if you want to be in my kid's life, if you want to be in my life, you will live up to my boundaries. I don't care that you're my parent. You're not above any law that I've set for everybody else on this earth. You will respect my boundaries. That's what I'm saying. So we're not using words like, oh, well, I have to accept you. Or you do not have to, but you will respect my boundaries. And that's anybody. So if you feel like you're above that for some odd reason, I'm going to stay away. That's what my generation's having. We were forced to be around family when we were younger. We grew up in our 20s. We on our own. Family's like, oh, well, I ain't heard from you. You ain't came to see me. I'm grown now, sis. You gonna have to come see me too. You gonna have to pick up the phone and say, yo, can I see my kids? I'm not just spending all my day making sure the family. I watch my parents do that. I'm not doing that. I'm not appeasing everybody.
Me and
You're
Lakeisha,
going to have to show me the same love you expecting from me, or let's just not do anything. That's what we're saying.
right.
So y'all don't have to accept the thing, but if you're gonna be in my life, you're gonna abide by these rules, or why are you in my life?
Well, me and Lakeisha are kind of laughing at the double standards because the thing is that the minute we say, hey, I'm your father, I'm your mother, and you're going to talk to me a certain way, and we hear that, I don't have to talk to you. It's like, no, you can't have it both ways now. Like, if you're going to talk to me.
I don't even see how that remotely is the same thing. And you're talking about something that we grew up that was traumatic because again, we didn't have a voice as kids. So all y'all would say is I'm your mother, I'm your father. It would come with no explanation. That was the end all be all. You can't tell me that's a healthy practice. So again, we have so many things we need to heal that y'all aren't even addressing because y'all keep so much in the closet and under the bed. We ain't even talking about the one thing. We talking about the bundle of 10
But
things that you don't acknowledge.
but the boundaries that we set is like, okay, heal before you talk to me. You know what I'm saying? Because we're not going to accept that either. You know what I'm
So
saying?
why can't that be a two-way street? And you can't tell me your generation's healing at an unexpected rate. A lot of y'all are set on who y'all are going to be. So why can't that be the same thing? You see how you just created a double standard after telling me that you don't like them? You see how it is talking to y'all's generation for us?
Tim, I didn't say that now.
You did. You literally just brought up our generation using a double standard. Y'all live in a double standard. Y'all will literally smoke cigarettes and tell our generation not to smoke. Y'all
No,
live in a double standard.
Tim, I'm talking about communication. That's all we're talking about
That's
today.
communication, Layne. Most of the communication is body language. Do you realize that it's nonverbal? That's what we're talking about, Layne. We're
Right.
talking about
So,
communication.
so, so if I'm talking to a defensive millennial, right, and I'm not trying to get under nobody's skin. I really want some.
No, speak your
I
truth.
really,
We can
I,
have these
I really,
conversations.
I really want some resolution between the two because these are the two that's warring when it comes to relationships. The different way we view relationships, the different way we view the way we raise our kids. Because let me tell you why, Tim. The boomers are pretty much settled in who they are. They know they can't change the past. So the boomers actually are more patient with y'all. When you talk to them, a grandma, but because they're able to listen when you do have a certain tone, I actually see more millennials respecting the boomers than they do Generation X. And let me kind of break this down. Please hear me out.
Absolutely. I would agree to that.
Let me hear me out. And I accredit the boomers because they are willing to admit what they don't know. So they go to grandchild and says, baby, I don't know. And grandchild respects that. Grandchild doesn't respect mom saying, I know too. I know too. I came up with Apple computers and I came up with the internet with you. I came up with hip hop just like you, just the same way you like Lil Wayne. I resonate with Lil Wayne. The same way that you like Jay-Z, I like Jay-Z too. The same way you like TikTok, I like TikTok too. So therefore, because we kind of grew up under the same elements, but with different viewpoints, we can't admit to y'all of what we don't know. And I'm admitting to you this, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
therefore, that gap is You think you know everything. Well, you think you know everything. Well, we're not going to resolve anything this way.
Mm-hmm.
Right or wrong?
No, I agree 100%. I agree 100% to the
So, so,
connections to the
so
state we're
therefore,
in.
when it comes to this war, we got to stop saying men and woman, or child and adult, and say mindset versus mindset. You know what I'm saying? Because even though we got a lot of the doctrine from the boomers as far as kids should be seen and not heard, we also were still progressive. We also spoke out against Ritalin. We also spoke out against child abuse. Why do you think there's so many? Why do you think Franklin County Children's Services and all these children's services around the world were taking kids out of the home in the name? Because we were either running away or we were calling them folks because saying, I get beat every night. You know what I'm saying? So we sparked it, but you guys took it over, which we applaud you for that. We applaud you that you said,
Some of y'all do.
well, right, but we're talking about the delays of the world. So let me personalize.
Right, because overall, no, y'all do not. We do not get credit for nothing
So
we've done on
so
this planet.
when I give you
And
credit,
again, I am a millennial. I've been this way my whole life. We do not get, and I've done a lot. We do not get credit for things we've done from y'all
good
generation
morning,
overall.
good morning. So therefore, we some of us applaud you for saying, damn, y'all took my dad and mom away for 60, 70 hours a week. I'm gonna tell you, I need that maternity leave. I need to be home with my child. And
Yeah.
I'm not gonna give you 70, 80 hours like you took my mom and dad away from
And
me.
that's not a knock at y'all, but see, this is how I look at it. And this is coming from a lot of different perspectives. How I look at it is y'all made y'all's choice. And I'm not saying again it was good or bad. Y'all made a choice.
Okay.
So y'all got out of those choices, however many years passed, and y'all woke up and y'all was like, oh, okay, I want to go do this. So y'all started getting into industries that my generation was in. So we're competing with y'all now over jobs, over positions. Daughters is competing with their moms over men. Fathers is competing with their sons over women.
Yeah.
What can you agree to this? This is how
Yeah.
we living right now. This is what we had to experience. We're still experiencing that to this day.
I
So when
said,
I went into Chase, still love this lady to this day. Still speak her up, Miss Edna. Miss Edna had been in Chase for 19 years when I got to Chase. She had been in the home equity department since it had started. I came into Chase within 6 months making more money than her just because I had 3 skills. I was doing more things. Me and her began our relationship, our friendship through resentment. She resented me because of what I stepped into, because I wanted more. And I was the one in the office like, no, we need a raise. They're not paying us enough. What is this? Like, what? Nah, we need more. You know, they know what we got to actually do out here. And they're like, nah, just keep it down. And I'm like, no, I refuse. If I'm going to be here, things are going to change. I'm sorry that that's going to affect your life. I'm sorry that you might have to be uncomfortable at work, but it is what it is. Because again, these are positions for people my age. I'm not knocking Miss Edna. I love Miss Edna.
right.
I'm calling a spade a spade. That's all I know how to do. And I'm good at spades. So this is all I do. I'm just going to tell the truth. So now I'm in a position that I feel like I have to step back from my greatness to accommodate everybody else, which is something Big Mama told me not to do.
Well,
Something my elders told me not to do. Still to this day, I tell myself not to do. Don't ever dim your light for another person. So
well,
now this is my generation constantly being in these situations with our parents' generation. It feels like a competition. Oh, even with us. Oh, we can raise our kids better than you did. We can make more money than y'all did. We're not saying it's one-sided. It takes two to tango. That's what I'm saying. That's not a double standard. That's the truth. But this truth can't expand without having these uncomfortable conversations. So we don't get to pick and choose what we discuss. Once you wronged me, we get to discuss everything under the sun of how you wronged me because you made your choice. So you have to live with that choice. That's all we're saying.
okay. She said, he just dimmed that old lady's light. The contradictions. Position
I
for your.
never said that I dimmed their light. How can I
Let me,
dim your light when you've been in the same position for 19 years, taking the same pay, probably have had a raise of $4? How can you tell me you were trying to shine your light? You were comfortable. That's the ugly truth. So whether you got comfortable and now the world changed without you or someone made it change, it's irrelevant. But just because you want to live in your comfort doesn't mean the world doesn't move on. I'm always going to be progressive. I can't base my day on what the next person when they decide to get out of bed. I'm sure Jay-Z doesn't either. I'm on my own time, always. You
I,
dig? So she's a casualty of my growth, but me and her are great friends to this day. That's my point.
well, I'm gonna contradict myself, and I don't even give a shit right now because when I say I contradict myself, I wholeheartedly agree with Tim, but at the same time, my contradiction is because millennials and Gen Z deal so much with feelings. This is why there's so many job hops. This is why there's
Yep.
so fuck you pay me type of
The
situation.
divorce rate is higher than it's ever been.
Right. So therefore, the Miss Ednas of the world, we learn from to either tolerate it until we can move in a position of power. When basically, because millennials and Gen Z are so much on a war mentality, they kind of do shoot themselves in the foot because they don't have the social prowess to say, okay, let me play these politics. It's more times than not. I don't like the way you talk to me. I don't like you, man. Fuck this job. I'm out of here. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? When
Yep.
you don't basically hold a tenure to develop a certain type of power, fuck the skill for a second, develop a certain type of power. And then you can move the pieces on the chessboard according to where you want to be. But we applaud the Miss Ednas because for those who are willing to listen to the Miss Ednas, she can tell you, okay, he been here 15 years. Watch out for this person. Hey, don't go over here. You know, so you're gonna shoot yourself in the foot over here, young man. Hey, won't you dress this certain way because they're looking at certain X. So Miss Edna, even though she didn't get paid as far as monetarily, her psychic income always increased year over year because you think, and I've seen it as the day is long. Miss Edna may not get paid as much as Tim Russ, but let Miss Edna leave that office one day. That office don't run properly because she knows how to fix
I
crisis.
disagree. And that mentality is a losing war. That's what I'm saying. You have to evolve beyond what you think you should be doing. And that's what my generation's doing. And we were raised by a generation, again, who had a lot of comfort. So we're now being criticized for the comforts we choose to live in, but the paces we choose to set. Y'all can't have it two ways.
Well,
Again, that's our we're running the industry right now. My generation has been running this industry for about 10 years. Like
well,
this is from my span, from the people that came up now. Like so again, we're being criticized for overachieving. But the criticism comes, we didn't do it y'all's way.
no, and this is where the contradiction comes in with me, and I'm admitting this because what I do admire about the Miss Ednas of the world is that slow progress was a nice, you know what I'm saying, in the end, these are the people that I see retiring comfortably. These are the people that I see having their house paid off. These are the people that I'm seeing and passing their properties on after they pass away. And you know, a lot of the flash in the pants and the aggressive and the ambition, that's basically going to keep up with the lifestyle itself. So you're not thinking about generational wealth.
I don't see that though.
You're not thinking about, you know what I'm saying, what I'm going to pass down to my children and things of that nature. And not even just the monetary. Let's go back to what you said. Let's go back to a small contradiction that you said. If it's not about the money and it's about the value, let's make it about the value.
But you're valuing yourself by the money that you're accepting. So
I'm,
how is that a
I'm not.
contradiction?
I'm not.
No, no, no. I'm saying in general, not you. In general,
Okay.
the amount of money you're willing to accept, that's what you're deeming as your value, correct? Is this not how value works?
I'm valuing it
No,
based
I'm asking you a general question.
on.
The amount of money you accept, you're saying this is your value right now. Am I
I'm,
correct or am I not correct?
no, I'm not saying that.
So how does the value work then? How does it work then? Because now I'm confused.
The value is a lot of those boomers, how they value themselves. They took less pay to in contribution to what you were saying, they took less pay to come home at night and really, you know, develop the culture within that 22nd Avenue house, within that 17th Avenue house. They were they still protected? Yes. Were they still?
No, no.
I disagree.
Again, let's
I just,
remember, I met Miss Edna at Chase. At Chase, I was in the mortgage department. I seen how much of your generation was losing their homes and defaulting on their homes and wasn't making their payments on those steady jobs. So
I'm talking.
again, no, you're talking about from the Layne's view. I'm talking about the general population.
I'm not talking about my generation. I'm going back to the Miss Ednas of the world because Miss Edna, she doesn't sound like she's part of my generation.
Yeah, she's a part of your generation.
She's a
I was
generation.
in Chase when I was like 26. That was
Oh,
like 10 years ago. Yeah,
okay.
y'all about the same age right now.
Okay, so she is a Gen X.
She had started Chase when she was younger, like in her 20s, and she has still been there.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah.
So
So
she
no, and that's not even, again, that, see what I'm saying by how like this listening is different than hearing.
no
All
no
that was heard was the Miss Edna thing, and not just you. I'm speaking in general. This is my point I'm making. It wasn't even, brought up again that me and her I still talk to her to this day. But
right.
even in the comment, it seemed like this was a negative response to what I'm saying about this situation. Me describing what happened to me. This is something that happened. I'm not dolling this up. This is how it went. This is a conversation me and her had, and she respected it. She wasn't upset. She
Right.
later actually started working under my team under me, like when I was managing. So, but what I'm saying is just because we're acknowledging something we see or the truth doesn't mean we have an issue or objection or we're saying that something's an issue. Just because I said you were wrong yesterday doesn't mean I'm saying you're wrong today. What I'm saying is there's another way to go about things. Muhammad Ali said it his best, and he's one of the greatest activists of our generation. He said the person that sees the world at 50, the same way they do at 20, wasted 30 years of their life. I'm not no contradiction. I'm very educated. I know exactly what I'm talking about because the people who did this life right, everyone immortalized them, they're all saying the same thing. So it must be right.
But all I'm saying is that if it gets me to where I want to go and it's my way, like I'm on some Frank Sinatra shit. I'm going to do it my way.
And that's going to work for Layne, but that's not going to work for everybody. So everyone has to have a plan. Again, everyone can't just jump off the porch with $200. That's how we started the show. But we're holding everyone under that expectation. That doesn't work. And then when we see someone's in the wrong, the same thing that we've said on this show, black people got to speak up for each other more like they did back in the day. Y'all got to let each other. So now I'm giving her game, but it's a bad thing because I'm going against her comfort. I'm going against that comfortability you did. So it's looked at as a negative. But to me, a healer, I am brightening your light. I am pushing you to get uncomfortable. I'm pushing you to go further. What she ended up doing, I'm not saying it's my fault,
Just
but
you
I'll
just
be remiss to not say I planted a seed in her. We had several conversations about these things.
you just said you could lead somebody to the water, but you can't make them drink.
Exactly, but I can still give you
So
education. I can still give you a cup. Can I
so so,
not?
so the thing is, and I tell your generation a lot. It's a shorter time to my retirement than it is your. Like, okay, I used to be an investment banker and I used to be a retirement planner. Okay, so I wouldn't have the same conversation with that associate that was 20 years old versus the 40 to 50-year old. And hear me out, because the 20-year-old had time, going back to what you said, to make mistakes in those investments. To when he's investing in
Right.
his, okay, when he's investing with his aggressive stocks, you got
Right.
time for that market to go up and down. But guess what? That 50-year-old, I'm like, hell no. Every piece of money you save, we're going to put it in something safe. We're going to put it in bonds. We're going to put it in mutual funds. We're not going to be aggressive over here. We're not going to put it in PTFs. We're not going to put it, or FTFs, I'm sorry. We're not going to put it in this kind of currency because you can't afford the hits. You have to retire in this particular time. And that's the same way it is in life, man. It was like, listen, young buck, I applaud you. Go ahead, but I ain't about to do that shit.
So you just literally proved every point that we've been making with your analogy. And it was a great one. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. You know what I mean? You wouldn't do that. So why are we now living in a time emotionally, socially, communication wise, when it comes to our peace and our happiness? Why are we living in a time where we're getting advice when y'all are on that shorter time span? Because y'all didn't have that time to do. Y'all made y'all's choice. And it may be, I'm going to move over here to give my kids a better life. Whatever the choice may be, they're all choices. But you made that choice, and we get blamed for that choice. Now that we're talking about that retirement fund, oh, well, I only got a few years after retirement. I had to get that job because of you. I had to have a roof over your head. You like Jordans. I had to buy your school uniform. I had to pay for your basketball. We get blamed. Again, y'all chose to have the kid. So now the kid is getting blamed that you got to take care of the kid.
No,
No, you're going to tell me that doesn't. So now something that we experienced, you're telling me, no, it didn't happen. What are you saying
I
no to?
didn't say that. I didn't say that. Tim, my brother, I love this guy, man. If y'all don't know,
What are you saying no to?
I love this guy right here because you know I didn't say it like that, man.
No, I'm saying but that's my point that I'm making to you. We're on different times tables. So you with your 10 years, me with my 20, you can't give me 20-year advice. And you may have had 20 years, but you didn't spend your 20 years how I'm about to. So you can't give me 20-year advice. That's what we're saying to our parents. Y'all chose to go work them jobs. Okay. But don't give me a job about running my business. Don't give me a job about being an artist. Don't talk to me about my marriage when you and dad's marriage didn't work. When you and mom's marriage didn't work. Don't talk to me about that. You go learn how to do those things, then you teach. Just because you're older than me don't mean you can teach me something. That's what we're saying. Y'all didn't go learn these skills, and now y'all are expecting us to know them, but y'all upset, and you hit the nail on the head. Y'all can't admit that y'all don't know. You see how you tied everything into what I was saying. That's
And
my point I'm making.
that's the, you know what, you hit the nail on the head, my brother. You hit the nail on the head. And that is why a lot of times you guys get tuned out, because we walk away with the mentality like, I can't tell you shit, you don't want to learn shit, and we can't teach you shit. So you know what? I'm going to sign off on you, because now guess what? Go out here and figure this shit for yourself. But guess what? When you bump your head, don't come back to me, because you didn't want to hear. You didn't want to hear shit that I had to say. So when you go out there and fuck up, hey, mom, can I get $20? Hell no, you can't get $20. Go out there and get it. You know what I'm saying? Hell no, you can't come stay with me, because you didn't want to listen to shit I had to say. So therefore, if I can't teach you shit, if I can't teach you shit and you don't want to learn shit from me, then go out there and fuck it up. So going back to what you said, Tim, you can't, this is why we turn off, because we say we can't have it both ways. We sit and listen to the lecture of mom, dad, big mama. We sit and listen. But guess what? When we walked out of the house, we got that $600 for our rent. When we walked out of that house, we got that $50 for our groceries. We knew we had to listen to the lectures. But when we look at our kids and be like, oh, we can't tell you shit? All right, hit the door.
And that's our argument when we say y'all are at work too much. That created opportunities for y'all to teach us something. Those are the little things to me that are parentings. I tell my kids all the time, I don't know. So then when it comes to something else, they see that. They know that. They want to be a part of my life. So they'll come to me with a bike. Yo, teach me how to do this. They're going to put me in an environment now. What we're saying is we never had that opportunity. Our parents were never there. We never had that opportunity. That's what I said, why we didn't have a choice. You can't have a relationship with somebody that's not there. We
No,
didn't have a choice.
can I say this, Tim? And I'm talking to the lanes of the world. I'm not
Yeah,
talking.
absolutely.
Let's talk to the Delanes of the world. The Delanes that worked at Chase, worked at Radio One,
Yeah.
Ohio Dominican, and still found time to go to Little League practice.
Yes.
Still found time to go to the games on Saturday. Still found time to go to church to get some sort of spirituality in my children. And guess what? A lot of the Delanes of the world, we didn't mind lacking the sleep. We didn't mind it. We did not sleep. We did not rest. Now, did it make us a little aggressive when it came to preaching excellence? It did. And in hindsight, we were wrong. We were wrong. And I have admitted this on this show, I don't know how many times. But a lot of the dads that I grew up with, we didn't give a damn about sleep, because we knew, one, we needed to provide, protect, and still be there. So this is when I hear like I was there in body, but I wasn't there in spirit. If there was any time where I wasn't there in spirit, it was probably because I was fucking tired. You know what I'm saying? But the times that I was there, I was there. So therefore, we're not saying so much that you are wrong in the way that you feel. It's that sometimes, and I know that I'm going to get pushback from a lot of millennials, but I will say this because I don't mind putting myself out there. We say, how dare you? How fucking dare you overlook what we had to do to even give you your entitlement, to even give you your voice, to do this, because we didn't have one. So therefore, We're saying we don't need a fucking badge. Tim, I give myself the badge. I don't give a fuck what my kids say. I don't care what my kids say. I
That's a
give
double standard, though.
no. Check this out.
Because
Because
by y'all looking for credit, that's entitlement. That's a double standard.
because I'm going to contradict myself, but I'm going to bring it all home. Because I go back to what you said. If I did all of these things and my kid still comes up traumatized, I failed. You said these things. If I
Right.
did all of these things that I give my self credit for, and my child still comes up traumatized, I failed. Okay, so I'm gonna take that on the chin.
Right.
You're not going to tell me I'm a horrible father either. You're not going to repeatedly tell me I'm a horrible father. You're not going to do that.
But why not?
No, I can't accept that.
Not right. I'm asking you. No, I'm asking like he's playing. Why not? Why is that so bad?
To say that I'm a horrible father when I did not have the blueprint, and basically, I mean, I'm personalizing this story. Now, let's personalize this story because I know a lot of fathers feel like the way that I feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you have a father in prison, and it's not, this is something I didn't have a choice. When you have a father in prison for 31 years, when you grew up in every neighborhood, every foster care that was possible, when you have seen the traumatic things that I've seen through the crack era, when you have a mother abandon you at 17 to go live a luxurious career and still raise her 5 children, but you're the one that's abandoned, you have all these questions. Of course you need healing. Of course you need counseling. Of course you need all these things. But in the midst of these things weren't even manifested until the years of 2005 or better. You know what I'm saying? As far as going to counseling, I had to have a traumatic experience before it was mandated that I go to a counselor for anger management and things of that nature. So therefore, in the midst of all that, still trying to be a father and still trying to do it differently, I will not accept that label because basically, like you said, I would have sacrificed my life, sleep, and anything else to try to curve this direction in any direction than the direction that I went down. So therefore, it's like, did I do it wrong? Yeah, but am I horrible for the way that I try to do it? Fuck no.
But what I'm saying is, if you don't feel like you're a horrible father, why even react to it? Why does it bother you? Why does
Because
somebody else's opinion or perception of you bother you?
the perception of my children will always bother me.
Why?
It will always, because of I believe. Okay, let me speak generally.
Mm-hmm.
Our generation wanted your generation to know and verbally say on a continual basis. I can't speak for all, but on a
Mm-hmm.
continual basis, our generation and people that I grew up around wanted you to know verbally, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. And I will sacrifice to show you this. So when we get to the end of it and your generation says you still failed, that's a hard pill to swallow.
But what if you failed? Did you even consider maybe you failed before you reacted to it? And I'm speaking in general. In that person in their shoes, they got to ask themselves, did I consider maybe I did fail and look at it from a different light, or did you just reject it?
I think that is a strong word, fail. Because in a counseling session in the shy,
Mm-hmm.
what the young girl wasn't willing to accept is she said this, and it hit hard and it hit home, and I wish my children and other children like that heard it. It
Mm-hmm.
says you point the finger at this parent so bad that you're walking in the same steps and you don't even realize it. You're doing the same shit and you don't even realize it. So maybe bringing and creating the dialogue, you'll start to understand that I'm doing the same things and probably worse. And you can't say that you're not doing worse when you see the destruction of these children of Gen Z. When I look at the destruction and the don't care and the sexy reds and the Sukianas and
Mm-hmm.
all these stereotypes, that are being perpetuated on. I look at this generation, I look at the Kia boys, I look at all these things, and I'm like, you're saying we did it wrong, but your babies are out there and they don't give a damn.
So
So
you go ahead.
so I don't even think Generation Z is gonna come back to y'all and be like, y'all fucked up. I think Generation Z is like, man, fuck y'all, fuck everybody else.
We're already
We don't.
having those conversations, though. That's the difference. We lead with those conversations. I don't wait till my kids come to ask me if I messed up. I tell them. I don't hide mess ups from them. I tell them. I don't lie to them about Santa Claus. I tell them. So that's the difference. When you lead with honesty, these things don't come back up. So this is an example that we're making to y'all's generation. But all I heard in your example was you taking the accountability out of y'all again. Because if you're living a certain way, and then I'm living like you, and I continue to live like you, that would mean that you're still living the same way. So if you saw that I'm trying to be like you and you realize you got things that you need to heal in your life, your only sacrifice to me will be getting better.
Well, here's one analogy, and I don't want to put this, this young lady on blast or anything like that, but she said that after she didn't know her pops for her entire life, right? And the thing was is that she said that by the time she met him, she could have been this. You wasn't there for me. You was da 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
But she chose to be open. She chose to be open, and I love the relationship, even though she may have her pitfalls and things of that nature. I love their relationship, and the very fact is, I see a lot of this. I see so many, and maybe this I am taking the show a little bit personal, but I see
Mm-hmm.
so many deadbeat fathers where they're that were never in their kids' life,
Mm-hmm.
or just kept fucking up. But them kids love they daddy unconditionally. Like, I mean, love they dirty draws. And that person even helped me to explain. It was like, when you have nothing, sometimes you just want to hold on to something. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right.
And so therefore, with a father like me, who was more hands-on, it's like it's hurting, because it was like these people had nothing and they're embracing the something. When you had
Exactly.
everything, you willing to reject it all. Like, man, fuck you.
You
I'm like,
become
what?
spoiled. That's why I say it's not the right way. I'm not knocking anyone's hustle or what y'all tried to do, but it's not the right way. Like, literally, your example proves that. The fact that the deadbeat still gets that love, it shows you it ain't about the stuff. The kid don't care about the job and the Jordans and where we can live. They want their parents. They want their parents. So for us to understand that, and you say, "Nah, you tripping. I work 60 hours a week because I like my job." Like, no, no, you can't BS our generation. Y'all was getting away from parenting and get away from y'all's responsibility. The same thing they're still doing to this day. So what we're saying is, if y'all can blame y'all's parents, we gonna blame y'all. It always has to trickle down. The difference is, that's why I consider us different, is we're trying to talk to both sides. We're talking to our kids and our parents the same way. And like you said, we already have that relationship with our grandparents. So the difference is now is we're trying to be the catalyst to bring everybody together. But when everyone feels like they were done a disservice and I can't listen to your disservice because you did me a disservice, that's the problem. I hear
Now,
everything through the conversation. It has nothing to do with what I'm saying. It's how you're
I'm
responding to it.
I'm about to give y'all generation. So y'all went in. And I want you to listen very closely, Adrian. Y'all went in on my generation, but I'm about to give y'all some hard medicine. Okay, here's the problematic way of the way that you guys are doing things, and this is very problematic. Um, the double standard of boundaries being set,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time wanting to be your kid's friend, letting them overly express themselves, letting them get away with horrible and toxic behavior and say, okay, they have to learn, they have to express themselves. Basically, the closer proximity that mom, again, wants to outdo and compete for the same man that daughter is competing for, and all of these things where there is no line of separation between, I would say, millennial and Gen Z. This line is so blurred because of the close proximity of how young that you guys were having kids, and basically still wanting to club and party and still be young, still want to have a life. At least I give the credit to say that we forego, because we did have kids at an early age, we forwent the having fun and still
No,
having a
y'all didn't.
so hold on. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second.
What?
Give me one. So, hey, mama got to have a life too. So when I look at that, I'm be like, there's no way in hell you can tell me that's great parenting. There's no way in hell that you can tell me that that's good parenting at
Y'all
all.
created Freaknik in Atlanta. How did y'all? What? What are you talking about? Y'all was outside. Y'all was partying like y'all didn't have kids.
So
You just trying to get on here and lie.
no. At the same time, you see as much as you see now, moms, grandma.
Because there wasn't as much media outlet. That's the only reason why they had flip phones.
Yeah,
Stop it. Y'all
guess
had Freaknik Atlanta. There's footage on Facebook popping up right now from people's mamas busting it open when they was 6 months at home with grandma.
thank you.
Stop.
No. You
Stop.
talk about Tim. You talking about what you think, and me and Lakeisha are talking about what we know.
I'm talking
We
about
went,
what I know.
no,
I've
no,
talked
no.
to other people your age and your generation. They was
But
there.
this is what I'm saying. We lived it. When we were going to Greek Fest, when we were going to Freaknik, guess what? We were in our college years. So going back to what you said about fucking up your 20s,
But
we
y'all were
didn't have.
having kids young. But once you have a kid, you got to grow up, correct? Once you have a kid, you have to change your level of thinking. You don't get to say, I'm 19. You got a kid now.
And this is what we were saying, is that we did the Freakniks in college. We did the Freakniks when I was in the military.
We're still in college.
Well, let me finish, Tim. Let me finish. So therefore, by the time we had kids, no, we wasn't in the club. No, we wasn't doing that bullshit.
That's a cap.
Because guess why? Because guess what? We are the generation that worked the 2 and 3 jobs. We are that generation.
Not all of y'all. A lot of y'all had clubs, and that's how y'all blew off steam. My mom and dad owned the club. They stayed in the club. That's I would have to call cap.
You're taking one small group, and we're not talking culture. You're not talking culture right now.
We're talking the city of Columbus.
But wait a minute. We're talking about the actual Black culture at the time. When you look at it, HBCU, what we were promoting at that time, we still had a level of consciousness in our rap music. You know what I'm saying? So right now, do you come be real, Tim? Because here's where this is where we're going back to your double standard. We heard everything that your generation said for the full hour and a half about how we did it wrong. So now that we flipped this thing about it, now we learned it from y'all. No, you can't have it.
Y'all still did it wrong though. I didn't, and it doesn't. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant if we learned it from y'all or not. The point is, y'all did it wrong. Y'all trying to tell us how to do it right. How does that work?
Me and Lakeisha is saying to y'all's generation, stop crying, make it better.
No, we're saying stop trying to give us advice. Y'all don't know what y'all talking about.
You're making it worse by being your kid's friend. You're making it worse.
I disagree.
You're making it worse by partying with your kid.
I disagree. It's hard to say that when you have a generation of kids saying they wish they had their parents in their life more. It's hard to feel now it's making it worse because you're actually in their life being their friend, which I don't agree with, but that's better than not being in their life at all, working a job saying, well, I'm doing this for you. Come on now.
How making it better is twerking with your kid on TikTok is making it better. I can't.
Was they not twerking at Freaknik on the cars? And come on, we see the footage. What is different?
You trying to make it fit. You're trying to make it fit.
I'm trying to make it fit because y'all did the same thing with less press and media. And you're saying, oh, it was a lot better. You don't see that out there. Yeah, because y'all had one camcorder at the event.
We didn't do it with our children. And we didn't have children.
Oh, man.
Because
grandma had the kid. Because y'all didn't have the kids. Our generation, too, that's why there's now this thing called a sister mom. There's big sisters who had to raise the other kids because y'all was not home. Y'all was working, remember? 60 hours. So how are you at home and you at work? It don't matter if you at the club or if you at work. You're gone. You're not at home. That's all the kid knows. They don't care what you're out there doing.
We already crossed that. We already crossed that bridge.
So that's what you're speaking on. Now you're speaking on what we do in our free time.
Tim, we are saying that we weren't at home because we were at work.
So why are y'all giving us parenting advice if y'all wasn't at home?
Bro, I just want to finish. So we're saying that based on our responsibility. We weren't at home because we had a social responsibility. We had a parental responsibility to keep our kids, or at least try to keep our kids in a developmental environment, right? So therefore, we had the mentality that we not out at the clubs, we not out chasing chicks, or whatever the hell it is we doing. I'm talking about culture wide, not so much the margin of people who were still being toxic. We have a long history, and it goes back way farther than the 60s or any. We have a very toxic history of parenting, and that goes back to slavery. So we don't even have to go that far. But what I'm saying is that during that cultural shift, we tried to make it better. But what we're seeing now, and you guys can deny it, you can be delusional about it, but basically that 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 generation, those generations are blending. They're blending. You don't know who's who and what's what. Like the mom and the daughter, they had the
Yeah.
club together dressing like whores.
Yeah.
They're
That's
doing
not new. Y'all's generation did that too. And what I'm saying is, so here's
what,
what I'm saying
what,
now. Listen to
what,
what
let me tell you this. Let me tell you this. I'm going back to what you said. The fathers and the sons, they're competing over the
I was
same.
talking about your generation, not
What,
this mine and this younger one. I was
but,
talking about your generation.
but
They're
okay.
competing with my generation.
So you can't. So let's take some ownership, Tim, because we took ownership in the first hour. Let's take some ownership, because all I see in reels is the destruction of relationships, cheating, all this stuff like that, fights between father and son,
Nothing new.
or somebody that's one generation older than you having a problem with another one. Moms fighting teenagers at school, things of this. This is what I see in the reels, Tim.
That's nothing new. That was happening when I was in high school. There was girls' dads coming up to school to fight kids. Again, that is
Again,
nothing
again,
new.
can this is what Generation X is saying. Can you take ownership? You cannot,
How
because
are
it
we not taking ownership? We're changing the world.
because you know why?
How are
You
we not taking ownership?
because your feelings are in the way. Your
No,
feel
we deal with our feelings already. What we're saying is y'all need to start dealing with y'all's feelings, and y'all won't have this broad perspective of something that y'all are trying to teach us that y'all never experienced. You
because you
can't have it two ways. You
because you
can't
don't.
say you was working 60 hours a week and now you're trying to teach your kid about parenting. You wasn't parenting, you was working.
Guess what, Tim? You already hit it the nail. We can't tell y'all shit. We can't tell you nothing.
Okay, so why are y'all still trying to tell us shit? You see the disconnect? Y'all still talking. We didn't ask.
We ain't
That's the
disconnect.
difference.
But guess
That's
what?
the difference. Y'all's issue is, again, we're not doing it the way y'all did it because y'all tried to do it differently than how it was done to y'all. The difference is we're doing it our own way. That's why y'all don't get it. We're not trying to do it better than y'all. We're doing our own thing, and y'all can't grasp that because y'all was so determined not to be like your dad or to be like your dad or to be like grandpa or not to be like grandpa. That's all y'all thought about. Y'all had a one-track mind. We
but
are being ourselves. We know
but
y'all don't get it. That's why we don't talk to y'all about it. That's
but
what I'm saying.
so what we do is take it in doses. We take what we can, and we leave that other bullshit to y'all. We take what we can and
That's
try.
BS though. That's BS. Y'all are expecting us to have a finished product when we have to unlearn the things that y'all taught us and now learn the
Agree.
actual proper things. Why would we be ahead when we're starting from behind? But
I
y'all
agree.
so don't tell me y'all giving us credit because y'all not.
Tim, I agree. I agree that we want y'all to have it all together. That's unfair. I just admitted this the other day to my spouse, and it was from a program that we were watching, and it was like the unfairness that we have is that we want y'all to grow fast like we had to. We want y'all to get it fast like we had to get it. We don't want y'all to fuck up. We want because let me tell you, one of the things that I will not apologize for, but I was wrong for, well, I will admit that I was wrong for, is when it came to raising my kids and me being in the Wall Street environments and me being in the higher educational elements of the world and seeing how far behind we were. I had no time for them to fuck up. I seen how we were declining as a society, and I had no time. You have to get this financial literacy. You have. I'm sorry. I'm about my phone's getting ready for a home. I'm so passionate about this
Yeah,
conversation
no, this is a great discussion.
and
I'm glad we
like
had this topic.
the great conversation. When I
Yeah.
that when I seen when my kids were 8 and 9 years old, that if they didn't get it, they would be behind the Asians. They would be behind the Indians that I was, interacting with, when they would be behind the Caucasians that I was competing with every single day. Like, there is no room for being lackadaisical. There's no room like, oh, I will eventually get it. There is no time. We're falling behind daily. So therefore, these are the one-offs. The Wall Street Trapper, these are one-offs. The Jay-Z's of the world, these are one-offs. But society at large and the generation and the millennials, you don't get it. And this is what we were the Paul Reveres to say, hey, the British are coming. The British are coming. And guess what? When it comes to generational wealth, if we don't get the insurance passed down, if we don't get the financial literacy, if we don't get the generational wealth, if we don't get the mental health that you preach. See, there's two different, we operate from two different parts of the spectrum. But my generation was at least the Paul Revere that said, get y'all's ass out the club, get y'all's ass out of the air. Stop drinking so goddamn much. Stop looking for distractions and numbness and all this other shit that you're doing, because the British are coming. And honestly, we are going to be destroyed in the next 40 or 50 years if you don't get your ass out of the club.
And that's our disconnect. And that's why it's hard for my generation as a whole to respect your generation. You just hit the nail on the head. You can't speak on something you haven't experienced. I don't care how passionate you are. I don't care how many books you read. You have no insight to speak on it. That's the problem. We're not saying y'all not capable in all the ways y'all capable, y'all are. But when it comes to this, when it comes to mental health and healing communication, y'all cannot speak on that. Y'all did not do that. Those weren't practices. Y'all were not going to therapy. That wasn't even a thing at your time. Psychology was just being born in this country around that time, and people still was pushing away. We were still getting vaccines and the point I'm making is y'all not qualified. I get that y'all want to talk about it. Y'all had these kids, but if you wasn't with that kid and seeing all those motions, you're not qualified. So every time that you talk down on that kid and condescend them, they're going to be triggered. If you work 70 hours a week, but every time you see your son, oh, you scrawny, you should do some push-ups, he's going to be triggered because he realizes you should have been there teaching him to do push-ups. So you don't get to have it two ways. Y'all love being audacious, but y'all hate the blowback that come with it. That's the difference of our generation. We talk so much because we love that blowback. I love somebody telling me how they feel about me. That's fine. Because I'm going to tell you what I know, and I'm going to go show you what I know. It's irrelevant of how you feel. So we're not wrapped up in feelings. We understand feelings. What we're saying is y'all want the easy way out. Y'all want this sugar-coated version of what actually happened, and this ain't no movie. This real life. I'm not going to dumb it down and sugarcoat it because someone's feelings are involved. If you choose to move with me a certain way, you are leaving yourself vulnerable to however I respond to how you moved with me. And you got to stand on that. You don't get to cry and say, oh, things aren't fair. I know things aren't fair. Life is hard. Live with your choices, make better ones. But you can't preach growth when you're not growing. You can't preach financial wealth when y'all's generation ain't rich. You can't preach inheritance when y'all wasn't left inheritance. We wasn't left inheritance. Our grandparents wasn't left inheritance. How is inheritance going for people? Tell me one family that's maintained that wealth till today. I can't name one. The wealth always is going to change hands because the world is going to change.
Do I got to be?
That's what we're saying.
Stove is hot.
We're saying go after healing and peace, and y'all don't. You can't tell me you're healing and you love yourself when you go to a job for 70 fucking hours to a boss that talks down to you and treats you like you're nothing and tells you how worthless you are. What?
Damn, do I got to be an electrician to tell you that stove gonna burn you?
Man, stop it. But you're talking again. You're talking to me about common sense in a world where common sense ain't so common.
No. Answer the question. Do I gotta be an electrician to tell you that stove gonna burn?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so therefore, if I know what it looks like, and we're both trying to see, guess what? I gave you the analogy of many shows ago. Check this out.
Yeah, because I'm going to add on to what you just said and basically explain your generation to you.
So here's the thing, and I'll respond to that in a minute. But we already know that the Monopoly game went around 8 times before we even got sat down to the table. So all the properties were bought up. All the money was distributed, and we finally got the seat at the table. But just because we got up in the at the 8th round, we got to sit at the table at the 8th round, and we already accepted the losing position, doesn't mean we don't know how the game is played.
We not
We
trying to play the game. Again, that's the disconnect. We don't want what y'all want.
here, thing, Tim.
I hear what you saying. I saw it. I hear it. I get it.
Just hear me out, because I'm gonna bring it home. It doesn't mean that we never knew how to play the game. We just weren't in a position to show you this is what it eventually looks like. Because guess what? We were going to work with the Tom, Dick, and Harrys, and they showed us every day what it looked like. They showed us every day what generational wealth looked like. We were just too busy getting redlined and paying high interest rates and paying for shit 3 times as much as Tom, Dick, and Harry, whose dad probably gave him a trust fund. So therefore, everything that he did, he was able to save money and able to do this. We had to start creating that, but at the same time, we were depleted when it came to energy. We were depleted when it came to spirituality. We were depleted when it came to being a parent. But it didn't mean that we didn't know how things were supposed to be done. It was just basically we only did what we had to do with the things that we had to work with. Going back to what you said, let me finish this out.
Yeah, please, because I
Back
want
to
to speak on that too.
it's like, how can you do this? Well, how can we explain anything to a generation that grew up on Kanye West and said, you can't tell me nothing? Okay, so I can't tell you nothing, and you already closed your mind to say, I can't tell you nothing. You can't blow back and say, oh my God, your generation fucked up. You don't want to hear shit.
You still fucked up though. Regardless of how anyone feels about it. If you lose a basketball game, you lost the game, right? It don't matter how you feel about it at the end, you lost. That's my point. These are such one-track analogies. The same with the stove. Yes, if you tell somebody, don't touch the stove, I'm not going to think you're an electrician. But if my history with you is the last 9 things you told me was incorrect, I'm not going to listen to you about number 10. I'm going to touch the stove just because you've been so wrong. Why don't you want to be right? That's what doesn't make sense to our generation. Why are y'all so comfortable with being wrong?
So our generation is signing off and saying, okay, go ahead and burn yourself then.
Absolutely, and that's what we've been doing. And it's been working well for us because it's pushing us further in. How is it not?
No, it has
How
not.
is it not?
It has not.
These 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds are shattering every record that's been set. We got more millionaires than it's ever been. We have more property than it's ever been. We're more educated than we ever been. How are we not?
Emotionally and mentally, you're fucked up.
We're better than y'all emotionally and mentally. That's why we're having these conversations. Again, we created therapy. Y'all didn't go to therapy. How would we not be more emotionally stable than y'all? That math ain't adding up.
Tim, now you know that y'all the most self-medicated generation. Y'all the most.
Yes, because we chose not to use drugs and alcohol like your generation did. Correct?
Are you so popping pills is better?
All of that came from the 80s and the 90s. We didn't make that. We didn't invent popping pills.
Popping perks. We wasn't popping perks.
Yes, they were. But they've been popping pills. They've been snorting pills since forever. Man, cut it out. Cut it out. Ain't none of this under the sun, nothing new. This is just y'all don't want to hold yourself accountable. This is all of the points I'm making. And again, I'm not saying that you cannot be an expert, but maybe you're an expert in baking cakes. If I need a car done, you don't have no insight. I don't want to hear you talk about a tire rotation. I don't want to hear it. You don't know what you're talking about. I don't want to hear it. That's what our generation is saying. We're not saying shut everything out. We're saying shut out the stuff where they don't know what they. Because y'all are know-it-alls.
Thank you. See, the thing is, Tim, and here's the thing, and I know we got to wrap this up. And thank you guys for tuning in. We got to understand that perspective is just what it is. Perspective, like you said, the perspective of that rock. You think the rock is this big until and then you see the full picture. Tim is speaking from his perspective, and I respect it.
Absolutely.
And I can speak from what I saw from my generation go through. Lakeisha as well, and a few other people. Adrian, I get it. I totally get it. And I know I get a lot of eye rolls when I talk to my young G's, and some people are going to take my mentorship, some people don't, but I get a lot of eye rolls when I often say, we want y'all to be better. And the thing is, as I get it, I get the eye rolls. I mean, like, we can have that intention, we can have that expectation. It's like, we want y'all to be better. You know what I'm saying? We want you to be better than we were. But what I can't accept is when I see the frustration. You're right. This generation has produced entrepreneurs, but spiritual wealth is tanked. There is
I
no.
disagree. Church is tanked. That's
Well,
not
let me finish.
spiritual wealth to me, though.
When I see that, when I see certain things and I see the cultural environment, you can't. I don't see the evidence of
Church is
empathy.
religion, though.
I,
Church is not spirituality. You talking about
I don't.
religion?
I don't see the evidence of empathy. I don't see the evidence of
That's
compassion. I don't.
not. That's what I mean. That's not spirituality. That's your healing journey. Spirituality is just knowing yourself, knowing self, knowing your
I'm
spirit. That's it.
talking about it. I'm not talking
No,
about
I get
spiritual.
what you're saying, but what I'm saying again, this is what my generation represents. So when we hear people speak on things that they don't understand, we are held accountable for that. This is why we have so many disconnects. So I get what you're saying, but this is what led the world to where it is, because I, as myself, am never going to ask somebody to do something I'm not willing to do. So when we see a generation saying, "Yeah, be better than me, go heal," so why can't I expect you to? Why can't I ask of you to be better? That's all my generation has been saying our whole lives. You've been challenging me to be better. Why can't we ask y'all to be better? We get hit with, "Oh, I'm in my ways," or "I done
So,
lived my life already." No, that's
so,
BS.
so the thing is, okay, I'm going to answer that, and this is the simplest way I can answer that. The same that way that we ask y'all and y'all get triggered by saying, you know, up your survivalship game. We're asking for that same grace when it comes to catching up to what y'all already started as a young age, understanding mental health, mental awareness. We're asking for the same grace that you're asking of us. Is we need to catch up just a little bit. We need to catch up because, like you said, our generation was sweeping under the rug. Keep moving, keep going, no matter what. Don't let nothing stop you. That's our generation. So give us the same grace that you're asking of us.
We've been giving that our whole
No,
lives. Do you
yep,
see how there's always
no,
a disconnection? We've been giving y'all that for free. Y'all was not reciprocating that energy. We've been trying to love on y'all our whole life. But y'all was so money motivated. Y'all was so boys don't cry. Y'all was so therapy's queer that we didn't heal. There's no way you're healing in the home if you're not healing out there. There's no way. That's what I'm saying. Y'all are trying to spin this fable
10 years,
like we wasn't the ones that grew up in the house.
10 years ago, that might have been true. 10 years ago, that might have been true. But not everybody's talking about
Because
mental.
of my generation. Because of
Okay.
my generation.
Do you want a cookie down? Do
I'm
y'all
calling it a fact. So why are y'all trying to take credit for that? Why are y'all trying to speak on something y'all don't know what y'all
Nobody
talking about?
said that.
Y'all
Nobody
are
said.
though. This whole conversation was about what we can do differently, our tone. Y'all are speaking on things. That's what I'm saying. So why not listen to the experts? Like we said earlier, you can be an expert in whatever. So we're the experts on this, but y'all, nah, no, y'all ain't. Y'all broken. Y'all still tripping over stuff. Y'all mismanaged. Y'all got
That,
sociopaths.
that sounds defensive and triggered.
We have
That's
every. I am, because this is how it is. I'm glad the world gets to see this, because this isn't good or bad. This is fact. This is how it goes when we try to talk. It gets reinterpreted. It gets reimagined. It's already under a microscope of something you want to see. That's what I'm saying. This is what all of us are crying out and saying. Just listen to what we are saying. We're not complaining. We're not upset. We are passionate, and we did not learn that from y'all's generation. So what we're saying is y'all can learn a thing or two from us. And you do it well. That's why we say the Laynes of the world. Your father does it well. And y'all are exceeding in the things you do. You get
but
it.
and, and and we do. And guess what? The grace is being provided by the Tims of the world. But what we're saying is we keep laughing at y'all when y'all can learn a thing or two by saying that you can attract more bees with honey than shit. See, a lot of times the reason why y'all bump y'all's heads is because a lot of y'all generation, because you are Google ready and you are phone ready, that you think that everything comes from Google, Wikipedia, and all that shit, and you don't know social cues. You don't, because basically you walk in a room and think you're the shit. Okay, okay, we get it. But at the same time, guess what? These men on the panel that you want this check from or whatever, it's like, listen, I get that they have all the credentials in the world and they have all this mentality, but I hold the check in my hand. And because of the way they came at me, I'm not giving them this check. because they don't want to learn.
So this is what we're saying about y'all can learn a thing for us and get to know us. What we're saying is what I'm saying now to you. My interaction with you is not my interaction with everybody. You can't say based on how a conversation we had or something I did what I'm not doing in my life. You're not qualified to, you wouldn't know. You don't spend enough time with that kid. How would you know that? So that's what we're saying. Y'all say a lot of stuff that we haven't been able to use, so we have to cipher through what's actually genuine and what you just talking about. So what I'm saying is I sat to parents that didn't know me, try to tell me about myself my whole life. How would you know? You would have to spend time with me to know what I do.
I
You
got
can't take a conversation I'm having with you and say, don't do this at work. You don't know me at work.
I gotta
You
address
don't know me with my friends. You don't know me when I'm creating. That's
and,
that fear that y'all
and
have that was put into y'all. Like you said, we were birthed through fear. That's that fear that was put in y'all
but
and we rejected. We
I'm
don't
going
let y'all speak fear and doubt into what we're doing. Nah, we
I'm,
different.
I'm gonna address Adrian. So this and Tim might jump in here. So with the RBF that your generation has, it says stop coming to the table ready to look down on us and just hear what we gotta say. No, because I mean we will, but when y'all come with this, y'all got this RBF look on y'all's face. Y'all got this defensive trigger attitude. We ain't
Man, that's
because yeah,
entitlement.
but guess
I don't have to come
who's
how you want me to come. I
who
showed up.
because
That's
basically
entitlement.
you want me to hear you, but you want me to
I
hear.
don't want you to, you don't, again, you don't have to hear us. What we're saying is that's the only way we're going to be
This
able
is
to
what she just
function.
said. This is what she just said.
What
Stop
we're
coming.
saying, no, I'm saying you have a choice. You don't have to. So you keep relinquishing the fact that you're making a choice to listen to me by saying you want me to hear you. No, I'm speaking my truth. Whether you hear me or not, that's irrelevant. But things have to run this way if we're going to function. If
But
not, we're going to
I
keep
got,
running into this
I got,
wall.
I got a motto. I got a motto when it comes to giving my prices, right? Or when I need to barter. I got a motto. If I come to you, then I got to play by your rules. So if I come, it used to be when I used to have guests on the show, and I told my guests all the time, if I come to you, then I'm gonna pay your freight. But if you come to me, you got to come on my terms, right? So it's all about leverage. So I get it. Guess what? When millennials come to Generation X about anything, guess what? You better have the right tone in your mouth.
Y'all
You
using leverage. That's the problem. Your
you better
kid is
have.
not some person on the street. Why are you handling your kid how you would a business transaction? Do that sound
No,
like parenting?
no. I'm I'm
That
I'm,
don't
I'm
make sense.
I'm talking about communication in general, Tim.
No, no, no. I talk to my kids differently than I talk to my friends. There isn't no communication in general.
I'm
I have boundaries within everybody I talk to.
Tim. I'm
I
addressing.
hear what you're saying. I'm making a point on what you just said, what you just spoke on. Because what you're saying is, okay, I have to come to you a certain way. What I'm saying is, when it comes to
Like
your child, we're talking about communicating between a parent and a child. That's what I'm talking about. When it comes to that type of communication, it only can be accountability. If your kid keeps coming to you and saying, I need to borrow money, you can't sit in your head and say, what are they out there doing that they need to keep borrowing money? Your accountability as a parent needs to kick in and say, what didn't I teach them about managing money?
I
We
have.
do not have those conversations with y'all's generation.
Okay, so here's the thing. I have yet to see a parent turn away a child for being passionate. I have more times. I
That's
have.
my whole life.
Okay. Okay.
You
Okay. So
you know one now.
okay. 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 So I don't want to overlook that because you're my brother. So I don't want to overlook that. So I want to stop right there for a second. But I hate to use the word but because that just discredited everything that you just said. So I want to stop right there.
Yeah, go ahead.
But I also want to say that I have yet to see a parent not listen to the child because I'm gonna tell you, let me personalize. The minute I see my child's eyes, and I'm sorry if I'm getting emotional, but the
Mm-hmm.
minute I see my child's eyes watering up, the minute I hear the rattling in their voice, or the minute that I hear the hurt in their voice, or the offense in their voice, I'm automatically going to listen. I'm automatically going to shut the fuck up and try to figure out what it is that they're saying or what it is that they're doing. And if it's something that I can relate to, then I'm going to listen.
We lost you there, bud.
Okay, there we go. I'm trying.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, so the minute I see all of that, you have my attention. If my child comes to me and says, "Hey, Dad, I need to talk," or anybody, my significant other, I need to talk. And this is where I'm going back to communication. Then yeah, you have my attention. Um, are you in the space to hear me? This is what I've learned in 1 year. Before I come to somebody with communication and a problem, a grievance, or a discrepancy, are you in the headspace to hear me out? And if you're not, maybe I can come back when we can communicate.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not going to make me hear you when that body language is on the attack. When that body language, so I get the tone because you're passionate and you may be defensive or you may be offended. But I love when somebody says, do you want my opinion or do you want me to listen?
Right.
At the point when we feel attacked, we're like, well, did you want to be heard or did you want to fight?
But
Because
that's
if
discrediting what they said by
I'm not
focusing on
finished.
the delivery system.
Let me so to hear me out, when you feel in your heart, I want this person to understand me. I want to be heard. I may not be able to undo the past. He may not be able to undo the past, and he may have admitted. We're not talking about the people who don't admit that they're wrong or who are delusional. We want to leave those. We want to leave all these toxic people behind in 2023. I mean, better said than done. But what I'm saying is what we want.
Mm-hmm.
But we're talking about the people that do want to hear millennials, the people that do want to learn from Generation Z, and to say, because I'm one of them, it hurts my heart to see the shit that y'all, not you millennials. I
I know
love
what
y'all.
you mean.
Yeah, millennials rock, but it hurts
Yeah, I
my
know what
heart.
you mean.
It hurts my heart.
And that's why I say these conversations are always going to be hard conversations because of how all this came about.
Yeah.
Because of how it started years before any of us was here. So that's why I say, from my personal, I don't feel like all of us are blaming. I don't feel like all of us are upset. It's shitty circumstances. I think y'all too. Y'all upset about the circumstances. We're not mad at y'all all the time. But what I'm saying now is, as we get into these levels of communication, there's levels in everything. You don't just become healed. You don't just solve one problem and then you never have problems again. Everything has levels. So what we're saying now, like you ever so beautifully put earlier, you're exhausted. We're exhausted. You just said it in your speech. When they come to me in a certain state, I'm making sure I'm listening. That's exhausting us. Think about all the other things, and not for you, just in general. Think about all the other things we said now that didn't get heard. So now we have to cry or explode or be dramatic to get listened to. When there's all these other times that I feel like these issues wouldn't be an issue if I was listened to in the beginning. The same thing that I feel like y'all are asking from us. Fair. But it has to be a two-way street. No dynamic can work one way. You cannot ask somebody to do something if you're not already reciprocating that. So what I hear is, we'll do it when y'all do it. That don't work. We've tried that. That's what got us here. What's next? That's what we're saying again. We move from job to job. We move from house to, what's next? We did that. When can we get to the next thing? We still talking about the same things from the 2000s, from the 90s. When we gonna get past that? That's what lets me know people ain't healing. That's what shows me on a mass scale people are living in their comfort. There would be change. There would be new conversations sparked. So it's not. It's the same old, I feel this way, you feel that way. We're arguing about how we feel as a generation. Not me and you know what I mean? As a generation. That's what I feel like we're doing. We're talking at each other. And communication is going to come when both sides are being listened to.
I like what Lakeisha said. It says, "Who says you can't tell us nothing?" We
us, are our life.
No, you know, in all fairness, we are information gatherers. We started this internet shit. Now look at the fucking things we get. So,
but you just told me we also can't use the internet all the time. So which is it?
We started this.
Which is it?
started this information shit. So look at the fucking thanks we get. So honestly, we want to know. We want, in closing, this is my closing comments. We want to know, um, because we are survivalists, we are revisionists, um, we do have a temperament. And this is what we want you to understand, is that it may or may not change, but we do have a temperament. And that comes from our PTSD of being yelled at, being abused. And so therefore, we stand on it. And you're big on standing on your truth. We stand on, you have the right tone in your mouth, and you have respect in your dialogue and your disposition.
Well,
But
then
when
y'all can't have it two ways
gotta
then. Well,
say,
then you can't expect your kids to have to respect you. If you get to choose to stand on yours, they should be able to stand on theirs. See what I'm seeing? How you're creating a double standard? You're contradicting
well,
yourself.
no,
You're saying you
not,
should have the ability to stand on your word, so why
I'm
can't
not,
your kids?
I'm not, what I'm saying is this: we are admitting to our temperament. We are admitting to it. We're saying that let's go back to what you said, Tim. There's a cause and effect. We are the effect of our cause, our PTSD, our sweeping under the rug, our family trauma that we never got dealt with, our abuse, our things of that nature. So we're saying we're open. We're open because we want to love you. We want to love. We want to understand, but we have a temperament. So admitting to this, it may take a few years. It may take, us getting to, remember what I went back to said, it may take us a few years to get to that baby boomer mindset to say, baby, I just don't know. Help me to understand. But we're
Yes.
not there yet because it's too close of a proximity. So we can admit, I'm not speaking for all Generation X, but I'm admitting to the people that understand me. We can admit that, hey, we're not there yet because we started this information shit. So look at the fucking thanks we get.
So
But
I'm gonna close and you just proved my point for this whole entire show by the fact that you said you're gonna get there when you get there. So that means y'all don't get to tell us to have it figured out right now. Y'all don't get to tell us to have it figured out. And that's what your generation does. Y'all don't get to tell us where we should be at 25, where we should be at 30. Can you
right,
agree to that?
I
That's
agree.
all I've been saying this whole show.
I agree. I agree.
That's all I've been saying this whole show. I'm not saying everything y'all did is wrong. I said what y'all doing now is wrong. Y'all telling us we need to run faster than you've ever ran. You're not qualified to say that. You got to run that speed first, and then you set that bar. That's why Deion Sanders is doing what he's doing now in football, because he already did it. That's what we're talking about. We're going to listen to you. Go do it first. Don't just sit on your high horse and try to tell me what I need to do when you can't even do it. That means you need to keep your mouth shut right now. There's a professional talking. And we can't listen and hear when you talking, and you can't listen when you talking.
Agreed.
So
But
that's all we're saying. Just be quiet long enough to actually listen to what we got to say, because we've been in the world. We got PTSD too, and we went somebody to see about it, and we went to do something about it. And like you said, we self-medicating. We making ourselves feel better. We going for walks. We stretching. That's what we want y'all to do, because it makes us feel good, not because we think we better than y'all. That's what my generation is saying. It's not a competition to us. It only looks like we're competing because we're being competed with. We're not trying to compete. We're trying to share the knowledge and wealth. That's how generational wealth is built. Grandma's in the house, dad's in the house, kids in the house, and we all good. That to me is generational wealth. It's not money in the bank. It ain't life insurance. All that's a scam. That's ways of them to get our money and keep us in these neighborhoods like this is. But if we can't come and sit and have these conversations without it being, at not one point in time that I call either of you bitter. That's why I keep harping on that. It's literally showing in this conversation. My emotions didn't come out once. I don't have to speak ill about somebody or what I perceive about them to have a conversation. So what we're saying is, like you said, for the Delanes, y'all already open y'all's mind. So if the shoe don't fit, why are you trying to wear it? The medicine is only for the sick. So if this doesn't apply to you, I'm not talking to you. But you're remiss to tell me that there ain't men out there that think like that, because I know them personally. So you can't tell me that's not a reality. That may not be your reality, but it's reality for me. That's my whole family. That's what I'm saying. But it gets disregarded, and you caught yourself. You're the Delanes. Oh, I shouldn't have said, but we're going to take a moment. How many people you think talk to me like that, Delane, other than you? Your age. How many of you think stop themselves and say, you know what, I don't want to cut you off, young blood. How many times do you think somebody has talked to me that way? That's the problem. And that needs to be the standard. Not go make more money, go get this education, make sure your wife is taken care of, provide for your kids. Teach me how to love, yo. Teach me how to heal. Teach me how to forgive myself. And if you can't, I'm gonna go learn. And I love you so much, I'm gonna teach you. But we can't teach y'all because there's that wall. There's that wall we keep running into, and we come crying with our bruises, and you like, oh, y'all ain't tough. Can we take the walls down? Like, we don't have to keep running into the wall. That we don't learn that way. Y'all
Right.
did it. Y'all tried it. I'm not knocking y'all for that. What we're saying is we don't learn that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we do want our handheld sometimes and just talk to me. I do want that. I do want you to stare in my eyes when you talk to me. I do want that. I do want you to say please and thank you and hold the door open for me sometimes. You
Mm-hmm.
dig? That's what we're saying. We want to live in that world.
Mm-hmm.
We fucked up. We messed up. I'm not saying we're better. I'm not saying we're
Thank
perfect. I'm
you.
not saying we're good.
Thank you, Tim.
But I never said that on the show. I
Thank you.
never said that once.
You did not admit it, though. You did not.
Because I don't have to admit that. It came out naturally through this conversation, but that's that entitlement I was saying. Y'all looking for that admittance. Y'all looking for those words. You're going to be waiting forever with some of these kids. Again, I'm the Tim Russells in the world, like you said. How many kids you think can talk like me? They probably yelling at their parent. I'm not blaming just y'all. I know it's us too. They talk to me crazy. I know they yelling at their parents. I know they calling their parents by their first name. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is fairness to me is if the Layne gets to stay 10 toes in his world, if your kids don't like 10 toes you, they should be able to tell you. That's what I'm saying.
And this is why two things, Tim. When we came together, I'm a very intelligent person, very well read, but I realized that there were some things as my younger G that you knew that I had to humble myself for and to be open to. This is why I brought a lot of my hurt to you through the show. This is why I brought a lot of my trauma to you, because a lot of this show, what you don't realize, or what you probably do realize, I don't want to discredit you, is my connection to the millennials. Because guess what? The millennials are my children.
Yes.
And there has been such a disconnect with millennials. The millennial is my spouse, okay?
Yes.
And the disconnects we have. And not everyone in Generation X is trying to get it. The millennials are these children I'm getting ready to teach.
Yeah.
And I have to be prepared for that. I don't want to see another teacher-student fight online. I don't want to see another OG gun down a young boy just to prove that, hey, you ain't better than me, young G. I don't want to see that. So therefore, if I can spark the brain that changes the world, so be it. But I need to relate to my children. This is all about my kids, right?
Yes.
Because if I don't get it right with my kids, I don't give a damn about $40 million. If I don't get it right with my children, I don't give a damn about how successful this show is. I got to get it right with mine. So this is why I'm open, but I'm trying to tell you my frustration, young brother.
Yeah. And I see them. And I don't want to discredit y'all's frustrations. I don't want to discredit sis in the comments. You know what I mean? Like, y'all, we listening, we feeling, we hearing. And everything you just said is what we need. We need more of. What you just said to me is what a father is. The millennials are your kids. We don't get that from everybody. So now we're getting silenced because we're hurting ourselves to feel something. And we got to be quiet about it.
Right.
That's not fair. And y'all had a hand in that. We're not saying it's your fault. But everything that's not your fault doesn't mean you're not responsible for it. That's what we saying. And I look at my kids like that. I don't expect my parents to do things I don't do for my kids. I don't ask of it. I don't tell them to fix it if I'm like, nah, I'm not going to fix this. I don't expect it from them. So that's where we have that gap right now. But again, me and you can have these conversations because, 90% of the time I ain't talking to you or about you.
Right.
But you're the catalyst. They listen to you.
Yes.
They love you. I see people my age listen to you. They love you. I ain't never heard nobody say nothing negative about you. You dig what I'm saying?
Yes.
Nothing.
Yes.
And the only time I heard something that was like, he's aggressive. He go after his shit. He gonna tell you what it is. You feel me? And I'm like, I want to work with dude. That was Nichelle. I'm like, yeah, I want to work with him. She's like, y'all the same person. Y'all go. She's like, y'all both be stressing me out. I'm like, good. You need somebody in your life on your ass. That's what we're saying. We want more men to step up. 50 is not too late. 55 is not too late. 60 is not too late. It's never too late. It's never too late. That's what we're trying to teach y'all's generation. It's never, y'all can do it right now. Y'all can do it today. We can start today. We're gonna start with y'all. That's what we saying. So that hurts us too.
I want to interject just one thing, and I'm going to shut up for the rest of this thing and I'll let you close this out.
Absolutely.
If anything, that my frustrations, Adrian and Tim, is that my aggression and wanting better for y'all, and my aggression for that wanting better for y'all has been so misunderstood through my children, through, the people I've had relationships with. It's just that I constantly have to remind myself I can't want it more than the person that I'm wanting it for. And so when Nichelle would tell you I'm aggressive, that is, my heart has been misunderstood my entire life, because I want to love hard. I want to love people in the right direction. When I see them going in the wrong, I don't want to let you bump your head. I don't want that for you. You know what I'm saying? So therefore, I have projected that to a whole generation.
Yeah.
And through these conversations, like Adair said, it's a dope topic, and I do got to get out of here. But that's what I'm saying, is that key word that you just said, that was my frustration, is that my aggression to changing what we went through, it was the wrong approach, but my heart was in the right place.
And that's still a beautiful thing. That's what I'm saying here. This is what I say as a healer. This is when I sit down with people with therapy. These are conversations I want to have. It wasn't a bad thing. Me saying you were wrong doesn't mean you did a bad thing. People perceiving you as aggressive doesn't mean that's a bad thing. You hit it on the head in the beginning of the show. Some people aren't ready for that love, and we can't force them to take it. I had to learn that same lesson. You feel me? So those are the parts of her that sing, oh, y'all like, because me and her go at it. She say some shit that's wrong. I'm like, oh, no, that's wrong. I know this because that you dig, like, but we rock. That's the homie, because she knows I'm not trying to belittle you or tear you down. I wanted you to know. I don't want you out here being wrong. I want you to have the right information. You dig? So what we're saying from our parents is, you don't have to be perfect. I felt like we were raised to be overachievers. A lot of us didn't want that. We felt like we had to be perfect for y'all. And I'm not knocking y'all. I'm not saying y'all did nothing wrong. I'm just saying how we feel. So now we're turning the table. I see the lesson. Y'all don't have to be perfect. Y'all don't have to get it today. What we're saying is, let's stop progressing the wrong way. Let's at least just stop. We don't have to move forward today, but let's stop moving backwards. And that's not y'all, that's not us, that's both of us. You dig what I'm saying? That's mixtures of both of us. Because some people my age got that mentality. Some people your age got the younger mentality. So it works both ways. But me and you are representatives right now. What we are telling y'all is, you have to stop sometimes. Stop the fighting and the arguing. Just stop. Just sit in silence. Just look around. Just think about where you are. Think about where you want to be. You know what I mean? So that's what we were here to show y'all. We weren't reaching so high to be great. We were showing y'all how high y'all could fly. We didn't think jobs was BS. We hated how your manager talked to you. Every time I had something going on, it seemed like they needed you in the office. My beef was with what was happening. It wasn't with you. We love y'all.
Yeah.
You dig? Like, we always have loved y'all. Y'all are hard to love. Y'all are hard to love. Not impossible.
Amen.
But y'all hard to love because nobody gave that to y'all. So that's why we do this. We're the reincarnations of the big mamas.
Amen.
We came back to love y'all because y'all missed that next generation having one, but y'all still was here. So we're coming back to show y'all that hasn't gone anywhere.
Yeah.
And we're hard as hell to love too, because we feel like we got it right. We feel like we're better than y'all as a group. I have to dumb down my people that do that. It's not about being better than each other. If I get it, Layne gets it, his kids get it, my kids get it, we win. That's the only equations I use. That's the only way I look at it. I don't want more than the next man. I don't want less. I just want what's for me. You get what I'm saying? And we got away from that. We got into this, okay, I can't help the whole neighborhood. I'm going to help my family. I don't knock that. My uncle did that. That's one of my, God rest his soul, one of my favorite people that ever lived in this. I don't knock him for how he lived. That's when I was learning how to live. It wasn't that prejudice. I didn't judge him. But that doesn't mean I can't challenge you. That's a new type of love we're all learning. So
Yeah.
sometimes, yes, we do talk crazy. Sometimes y'all hear we coming off crazy, but we both need to learn how to speak with love. That's something me and you talked about off air. We don't
Right.
take things personal because we know each other's heart. What we're saying is I'm your kid. How you know your best friend heart, your client heart, your boss heart, but you don't know my heart? That
Mm,
makes me feel away. And I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm just saying that makes me feel away. I should be able to say that and you be like, okay, I understand. And not try to change how I feel. Just acknowledge how I feel.
right.
Okay, I hear you. You said, you even point it back. You said you feel this way because of that. I understand. And if you're that overachiever like Layne, okay, so this is what I was doing at the time. This is what I did after. This is how I don't do it anymore.
Mm,
Sometimes that's all we want. But all these kids ain't getting that. And
right.
that's what I mean when I say I'm an activist. I can't say the job is done when my neighbor don't got a dad. I can't say the job is done when the lady up the street don't know how to be a woman because she don't have a mom. My job ain't done. It don't matter what I have. They need to. So if I got to become that person and recruit like you doing at that radio station, like you said, you did it your way. So you're not about to go there and teach them the book. You're going to teach them the lane.
Yeah.
What school can teach that but you?
Wow.
That's why y'all are so important to us. No one can replace what you did. No one can replace who you are to your kids.
Yeah.
They love you. They're not always happy with you, though.
No.
They don't always like you.
No. Ew.
But they love you, man. Like, they love you. Doing that show with your kid and you, and then doing it with your dad and you, but they love you. And I
Yeah.
feel like parts of both of them is still holding on to the guilt of how they treated Layne. And they got to live with that.
Yeah.
But what you do, you still show up. Can't nobody take that from you. They can talk shit about it. They can curse it. They can't take that from you, though. You show up. You do your thing. She might not get it. He might not get it to 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
But they got it. You feel me? You going to be somewhere like, oh, so you going to feel a little tingle. Like, oh, they got it. All right. And that's what I want for myself. That's why I push people so hard. I've only known tough love. I only know either be pushed or figure it out on your own. And I had to learn too, as much success as that got me a chase, this is wrong. You're drained. You're beat up. You feel used. You
Yeah.
don't feel like you're being paid enough. You don't
Right.
even got a parking spot out. You got to park in the back. And like, what? You living? This is your worth? That's how I look at myself in the mirror. This is your worth? This is your value? You dig? And that's what I challenge people to do. That doesn't mean change today. It means change the conversations you're having with yourself. You
Right.
feel me? Like, this was a great ass show. I feel like we've been bubbling for a show like this.
I feel like I've I've been in the best counseling session ever
I
because
say,
I know we keep saying we're gonna end it, but a lot of times when it comes to the dialogue, thanks, babe, thanks, babe, it's that it's not about right or wrong. I had to get that out.
yeah,
I had to really and I really wish that I could be in a room that I could get it out to the person that really needed to hear it. I'm glad that I was able to do this and be transparent in front of, all these people and yourself.
yes,
But I really wish the person that needed to hear it and to hear me listening seriously, like I felt like you're you, Tim, but I felt like I was arguing with my child.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
I
Like,
say,
and I'm just like, and I felt like you were arguing with your dad for whatever
yeah,
reason.
absolutely,
But at the end of the day, we still have that buffer to say, hey, this is my brother right here. But
right.
this was a much needed conversation. I feel great about it.
I
And hey,
do too.
join us back next week and we'll do it
Yeah,
all over again.
and this is too. This is what I'm gonna leave on. This is what I mean by changing how we think about things. I needed to hear this. They needed to hear this. The person that heard it needed to hear it. You dig?
Yeah.
You said you had to get it off your chest. This is why I don't brag about who I am. I just know who I am. The universe put me here to be your child when I need to. And if me and sis from the comments, she want to talk, I'll be her son. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I take that responsibility because I know your kids might not ever find the words to give that to you. So I'm gonna give it to you because you deserve that.
Yeah.
That's me giving you your credit.
Yeah.
That sometimes that's it.
I wish they would be able to say that to you. I really do. I wish I could give them the words. But sometimes I have to be enough. And that's what these kids are saying. I want to be enough. You know what I mean? Because I get to have these talks and it's like, oh, yeah, we going to call my kid. I'm just like, damn, you know, waiting for like, when my call going to hit. You dig what I'm saying? And I had to heal that because that held me back so much in life. I resented that man so much. I was becoming toxic. And I had to forgive myself to forgive him. And I let it go. But for a time, I couldn't, Layne. I couldn't. I could not. It's like somebody in the streets did you the worst thing they could do to you. I could not let it go. And I wanted to. You dig? Y'all's kids want to let it go. But we healing too. We hurt.
Wow.
You feel me? And that doesn't mean that y'all didn't love us and y'all didn't heal us. We all get hurt. You get hurt falling down trying to ride your bike. You gonna get hurt. Parents get that. But it's still scary. So I got this voice. I get on these platforms to let people know, like they see you, they hear you, they feel you. Just keep doing what you're doing. You dig? But yeah, that's all I had to add, man.